In the eyes of the people who regarded themselves as advanced existences, this barbaric civilization that was just emerging from waste was something beneath their notice. For them, these people were similar to a group of apes and primitive humans. Lady Jessica. Respectfully, a maid stood beside a blonde woman who was lounging lazily on a big chair covered in fur pelts. Her crimson eyes oozed wickedness and a bloodthirsty aura. She stretched a bit as if she were not here to battle but to take a holiday. For her, a skirmish of this level couldn't be called a war. It was only an easy one-sided suppression, nothing more. The family actually sent me here for this task. I wonder if they have no regard for my abilities. She snorted and shook her head. Forget it. I'll just take it as a holiday. Let me see what antics and stupid things these ignorant natives are doing now. In these people's eyes, the people of the spiritual state were a group of ignorant bumpkins. She cast a spiritual spell leisurely, and a scene of Yuanyang City appeared before her. So many people. She froze for a moment because there hadn't been so many people in the city when she checked last time. What's happening? All kinds of giant horizontal posters were on the streets and in the alleys of Yuanyang City. All participants, warm welcome to Yuanyang City. The crowds almost blocked the streets. She even heard a girl shouting in the crowd, "Ah! New snow! You're gorgeous! Look! That's Academy Master Gu! Academy Master Gu, show the supersonic lightning matrix again! Academy Master's Protoss is unrivaled! Look over there! Lu Ningyun, the Nanhua fairy! My goodness! She is even more beautiful than in the game! Over there! He's said to be the most talented young man. He looks so young. It's said that he's only 12 years old. Ha ha ha! The venue of the competition was the spiritual state. Since the teleportation array between Half City and Zhuhua City had been built, people of Half City could travel to the spiritual state from Zhuhua City. There was no issue for transportation. Jessica's jaw almost dropped as her mouth was wide open. What are they doing? With us at your door, can't you act frightened and create that atmosphere? Lady Jessica, here is your 1,000-year-old jade melon. The maid handed her a plate of neatly placed spiritual melon slices which looked like green jade. Okay, picking up a slice distractedly, she began to watch what was going on. The virtual esports competition venue in Xone could accommodate about 40,000 people, which meant that all the players in the 3 shops after the expansions could enter and have seats. Master! How come there are so many people? Zhu gaped at the scene before her with widened eyes. The circular audience stands surrounding the arena were crammed with people. Meanwhile, in Liu Yundaist Palace in the central square, the disciples of Liu Yundaist Palace each carried a small futon and sat down. In the Nanhua faction of Morning Star Sea Realm, a huge screen created by a spiritual spell appeared in the sky above the square, and the disciples could see everything on it clearly. Senior brother! What's this? A young boy who had just entered the faction asked in a low voice. This is esports that only the senior brothers and sisters can get in touch with. Hush! Don't make any noise. It's said that even the major factions in the spiritual state are watching it. Senior Sister Lu and the others are fighting for the glory for our faction. Awesome! The young boy looked eager. If I cultivate hard, can I enter this esports in the future, just like them? You must cultivate hard. Remember, all participants in the esports competition are powerful. Okay. Kevin was one of the leaders in this expedition. The family had sent them to clear this newly found land, which was lost in the ancient times, and they planned to use this place to develop new energy sources and store resources. At this moment, he came in with a copy of the plan, intending to discuss with the others about the preparations of this battle. Knock. 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 Come in. The blonde young man walked in and saw Jessica watching something intently with a slice of melon in her hands. What are you watching? Bewildered, Kevin watched the scene before Jessica. At this moment, the opening cinematics had begun playing in the virtual arena in Xone. The other major broadcasting platforms were showing it on the live stream as well. Before Jessica was the Kongxiudao discussion field in Yuanyang City. The field was crammed with cultivators and warriors from all over the spiritual state. The lights dimmed. In the darkness, a clock ticked as the huge screen showed an ancient gear engraved with some ancient characters Dungeon Fighter Online. It represented the dreams of millions of adventurers. Each adventurer who came here all had their own ambitious goals that were perhaps unattainable. Suddenly, a sword beam lit up in the darkness. Does swordsmanship have a limit? On the screen, this sentence showed when a blade master pulled out a long sword and awakened as a grand master. This simple sentence resonated with the hunger in the hearts of the warriors who used swords. This sentence voiced their lifelong pursuits, and they were excited by it. The dark night gives me dark eyes, but why do they emit such dazzling lights? Before them, the silent eye suppressed darkness with his jade-like sword beam. It was silent, but the words that were as radiant as the sword beam were louder than shouts. Zhongwu almost cussed when he saw this short sentence since it expressed the desire in the hearts of all Azura players. On the screen, the Hellbringer with blood-red eyes and blood-covered hands looked like a lunatic. God, please forgive me, the priest on the screen turned into a demon, but the fire of revenge would never die down. One after another, the stunning figures appeared before the audience. The opening cinematics were divided into two parts. The first part was about Dungeon Fighter Online, and the other was about StarCraft. The Queen. Look! The Queen of Blades. Outside a huge fortress that appeared endless, groups of flying dragon-like creatures flew up like a black curtain in the sky. Under the fortress walls, cannons fired like blooming flowers, and the tank army of humans fired in huge waves, pushing dust into the air like a curtain. On the screen, a battlecruiser that was as huge as an ancient mountain crashed down from the sky, shattering the whole city. While the unimaginable, epic battle scenes appeared before them, the audience fell silent and stared at the screen with widened eyes. What's this? The melon in Jessica's hand already dropped to the ground. Holding his plans, Kevin froze on the spot in a daze. Damn it! What was the thing that teleported in the void? When did this grand war happen? How come we don't know about that? How come cultivators and warriors in this world have reached such high realms? They are even chasing after the ultimate realm of swordsmanship. They all turned ashen-faced. While the scenes flashed before them, the music suddenly turned high and passionate. Awakening, one word appeared on the dark screen. Among the beams of flowing array light, countless demons floated in space. The scene where that horrifying Blash dashed out of the death swamp flashed on the screen. Then, the crazy-looking demon hacked down his sword, shattering the ground. Lava and beams of fire instantly shot up into the sky. The scenes of earth-shaking battles flashed before the eyes of the audience. My goodness! Dong Qingli exclaimed when the screen paused at the scene when a champion, female striker's first awakening, killed an abyss demon with one kick. This is my champion! Sitting in Heaven Hiding Palace, Jessica and the others' jaws almost dropped as they watched this scene. What are you doing here? Lord Vanguard General is holding a meeting, and you guys, some luxuriously dressed men and women walked in. At this moment, on the screen, golden battleships flew across the void in the starry sky, looking like everlasting fortresses in space. The huge golden battlecruisers spread out in space. The unrivaled golden battleship fleet of the Protoss ignited the audience. Screams and exclamations rose in waves. Sitting on futons cross-legged on their respective squares, the disciples and elders of the Liu Yundaist Palace and Cloud Ocean faction intently watched the opening cinematics with blood boiling in their veins. The disciples sitting in the back clenched their fists and thought, I must work hard. One day, I'll also become an esports player and attend this competition. Look! Isn't that young man from the Nanhua faction? A disciple from the Heavenly Sword faction pointed at a swift master flashing on the big screen. He's now a core disciple now. His talent in gaming is much greater than ours. My goodness, the first disciple's face darkened. At this moment, the faces of Jessica and the other outlanders were now all pale, and they thought, we are here to spend our holiday, and you natives present this stuff to us? Who are the barbarians? You or me? What on earth is this? Kevin yelled in alarm. Quickly call over Carl. Call them all here to watch this. Soon, all the outlanders sat down in rows and watched the esports competition intently. They had totally forgotten about their claims to stun the people of the spiritual state. It seemed like they had come all the way here to watch the competition. When the opening cinematics came to an end, the high and passionate music of electric guitar came from below. Under the spotlights, a charming woman wearing a green, trailing long dress was holding a dark blue electric guitar. Her green jade-like eyes looked like the surface of a lake in the autumn with reflective lights. The audience was charmed by her smile and moves. With the passionate and echoing heavy metal music, the big screen behind her was filled with fire and smoke of a war between stars. Then, her clear and passionate singing sounded. What's she singing about? I don't understand one word of it. Sitting in a seat in the front row, Sia asked in her poor spiritual state language. It's said to be a Western language. She is singing a song named Night Wish She Is My Sin, Luo Piaoling whispered to her. TL note, this song is the theme song for Counter-Strike 1.6, which was really popular in China. Why can't she sing in the language of the ultimate West realm? Although the audience couldn't understand the words, they were enchanted by the rhythm. At this moment, another voice joined in as the music switched, and it sounded light, ethereal, pure, and melodious. Two songs intertwined with each other as if a holy angel and a seductive demon joined their voices. In the end, a fairy-like woman wearing pure white clothes flew down from the sky. F***ck. Awesome! It is worth it to not play games today. Stunned by these visual effects, the audience erupted into cheers, and the atmosphere was hyped. Then, thunder seemed to be rumbling in the sky, and the big screen showed some fascinating scenes where players fought their way up from the low ranking to the high ranking to get into the competition. Some of them made it, and some of them didn't. An elemental bomber waved his magic staff, and the magic arrays on the ground exploded in flames. Meanwhile, the singers seemed to have begun to sing in the language of the spiritual state. The witch lifted her wand and left a frost flower on the windowsill. She seemed to remember that the prophecy told this story. He came from a snowstorm, freezing time that was anxious. A desperado, male ranger's first awakening, fought back in an impossible situation and claimed victory. A desperado player who had entered the competition had tears in his eyes when he saw this scene. It was a flashback of his last battle before he entered the top 64. Even watching it now, his heart raced, and he was a little scared. At this moment, even the outlanders in the heaven-hiding palace were stupefied by what they saw. How can these people have such terrifying combat experience? Are they still humans? Of course, they didn't know that each participant in this esports competition had fought more than 4,000 matches, not including their battles with the Abyss demons. Look! What's that? A golden transportation aircraft flew over, and Protoss High Templars dropped from the sky. Then, a Psi storm swept across the whole battlefield. A horrifying sea of Zerg units was turned into ashes in one instant. Chinook Lightning Matrix. It's a play that consists of dropping Chinook storms from the air, one player exclaimed. Airdropping 10 Protoss High Templars. This is a super Chinook Lightning Matrix. My goodness! In the heaven-hiding palace, Jessica and the other outlanders yelled, Holy God! What's this now? They seem to be yelling something like Chinook Lightning Matrix. It's crazy. So powerful. What am I watching? These people are holding battles among such grandmasters. At this moment, the songs came to an end while the last few words resonating in their ears, dazzling or just crazy. With wide open eyes, the outlanders exchanged a look while gaping. They had never been stunned and shocked like this before. It was impossible to imagine how this could have happened for these people. Among other things, the transition, spatial warp, in StarCraft was beyond their understanding. It was way more advanced than traditional teleportation. What is transition? It originally refers to the transition in quantum physics, describing the drastic shift in quantum phases. Although it was different from the transition in StarCraft, it can be used to explain the instant teleportation method in the game. The transition technique of Terrans was something like the warp drive as shown in Star Wars. The Protoss used their unique technology of particle reform, and Kerrigan, the Queen of Blades, created wormholes to teleport units to Minsk's home. Karl, the Vanguard general, had a cup of wine in his hand, and he was planning to enjoy wine while watching the competition. However, he spilled it on his pants instead. What did I say earlier? Fortunately, I didn't show my face earlier. His face turned pale. The others around him saw his wet pants. I spilled my wine. I spilled my wine. He hurried to explain. Lady Jessica, your melon. The maid picked up the slice of melon for Jessica. Forget it. Give me another slice. She continued watching the competition. Although the system provided the awards and venue for the competition, Mr. Fang, as the owner of the shop, had spent a lot of energy on this event as well. For example, he had arranged the hosts for the gala. Even now, he was still hurting for the money that he had paid from his own pocket. Wow! Awesome! Superb! Ning Bai, the demonic woman, praised her companion. This super cool and pure fairy with a beautiful singing voice beside me is a great figure. Deist friend, you are exaggerating. I'm Qing Yun, an independent cultivator. I'm honored to stand here together with you. Fairy Qing Yun looked calm and elegant, but her beautiful eyes showed her excitement. She was thrilled that Mr. Fang had gathered so many grandmasters together to defend against the enemies from the Outland. Since she would go to her auction house when she was free, Ning Bai was very familiar with this role. First of all, let's welcome all the friends who came from distant places and friends who are watching through the live stream. I'm Ning Bai. Welcome, everyone. Fairy Qing Yun was more reserved. I'm Qing Yun. Welcome, everyone. Wow! Welcome! Welcome! The audience outside the arena all screamed. Our Blade Master is awesome. Hellbringer is unrivaled. For the Zerg. Cheers for the Queen of Blades. Fairy Qing Yun is awesome. The atmosphere is so lively. Jessica ate her melon slice while watching the show. Gulp. Gulp. Karl gulped down his wine and stared at the scene before him. Calmly, Ning Bai introduced, after the group draw, our contestants are ready. 64 players from all over the world will engage in fierce battles in 4 groups. Right. Fairy Qing Yun nodded and said, after the fierce battles in the groups, the 4 winners will battle for the first place. The StarCraft competition and Dungeon Fighter Online competition will be held separately, Ning Bai explained. Now, let's see who are in Group A of the Dungeon Fighter Online competition. She looked at the name list. It seems like Group A is the Group of Death. King of the Swift Masters, Wang Xiat. F***CK. This first participant is so powerful already. Who's Wang Xiat? How come we don't know about him? The audience in the Heaven Hiding Palace looked puzzled. Jessica moved her spell and said, let's hear what the audience members are saying about him. He's the genius of the Wang family and the #1 genius in the Heavenly Academy. He won the first place in the Academy entrance exam of the Heavenly Academy. What was wind? Ordinary people would think that it was just a natural phenomenon. However, for the people in the ancient magic realm, wind was an important factor in deciding one's fate. The depths of the storm hill, where the gales swept around, was the place where swift masters studied the origin of wind. They were called wind chasers and swift masters. It's said that he is the first person who could deftly control each of the hurricanes that Swift Masters summon using Vortex Hurricane. Vortex Hurricane. The Outlanders exchanged a look, recalling the destructive storm in the opening cinematics. That horrifying windstorm could be called the origin of wind. How can one control it deftly? F***ck. They had the urge to cuss. Who are these weirdos? Since the virtual reality games were different from the original ones, the players did more than controlling the timing and trying to connect combos. In Dungeon Fighter Online, the players could control each move to the exact second. The godlike masters wouldn't hurt their teammates at all even if the latter stood in the attack range of a powerful skill that they learned after their first awakening. The next is Grand Master Zhu Yangxiao. A warrior with short hair walked up to the arena with a cool expression. My goodness, the audience yelled in astonishment. F***ck. Zhu Yangxiao. How come I've never heard of him before? I can't believe that you haven't heard of him. He is rumored to be the #1 Blade Master. I don't know where he is from for sure, but it seems like he is a civilian warrior from the Zhuhua City shop. He's super powerful. A civilian warrior? Can he defeat the master warriors of the spiritual state? I didn't believe it either, but this guy's talent is too insane. Grand Master. The Outlanders froze. They had just seen a person who had mastered the origin of wind, and now here came a Grand Master. At this moment, two figures who were engulfed in black cloaks and sitting in the rear were whispering to each other. What's going on? Do we need to go up there and show ourselves on stage to participate in the competition? Will our backgrounds be exposed? After Ning Bai introduced the contestants, she said, Now, let's turn the camera to our casters. Hello, everyone. I'm caster Xiao Yulv. Although Xiao Yulv couldn't play games, Mr. Fang had to go against his own will and managed to get Xiao Yulv a position as a caster. I'm caster Mu Donglei. This time, the two of them sat in the special broadcasting hall in the Zhuhua City shop. Compared to their previous casting experience where they sat on couches among the rest of the audience, this hall looked much grander. It's the first time that we have such a big audience watching a competition, Mu Donglei commented. You're right. Mu Donglei said, Gongzi Xiao, what do you think of the contestants in Group A? For example, this group has Swift Master Wang Xiat, Mechanic Tang Yu, Grand Master Zhu Yangxiao who many civilian players favor, and the #1 Hellbringer from the Half City shop. Nanhua Fairy Lu Ningyun. Wow! It seems like the contestants in Group A are all in the group of death. As usual, they first complimented each other very well. Inside the Heaven Hiding Palace, what are these two people doing here? They sound quite powerful. These Outlanders clearly knew nothing about the topic that these two men were discussing except the words Master and Supreme. I know that Mr. Mu had fought with many contestants, so I think your opinion is valuable, Xiao Yulv said. I want to ask who you think is stronger when you were fighting your way to the Supreme tier. Who do you think is stronger or who do you think has the potential to be the champion? From what I know, this crazy butcher and Zhu Yangxiao are the weakest in Group A. Not for any particular reason, when I encountered them while I fought my way up, that was how I felt. Only these two? Xiao Yulv asked, how about young Master Song Qingfeng? He's in this group too. Young Master Song might have more competition experience than the others, Mu Donglei said calmly. Indeed. Gongzi Song has taken quite a few great rankings in previous competitions. Oh. Mu Donglei looked at the time and saw that the competition was about to begin. I'll tell you this. The most powerful contestant in the competition, on the warrior side, is old Duke Nalan who surpasses the others in both swordsmanship and sword deo. Among the mages, Elder Xian Yuan Chongqing of the Xian Yuan family is good. Also, Wang Xiat is a young genius. How about Vice Academy Master Zhang of the Heavenly Academy and Ms. Shui Bai? They are both powerful masters, right? I'm sure that the champion will be one of them. Mu Donglei nodded and said, if Senior Gu Tingyun didn't choose to enter StarCraft, he would be a powerful candidate in the Dungeon Fighter online competition as well. Xiao Yulf said, now, everyone, please remember the 5 people who Mr. Mu just mentioned, the champion will be one of them. Oh! One more! Mr. Mu patted his hand on his forehead when a thought struck him, and he said, Nalan Mingxiu. This girl is quite powerful. Right. She won the championship title for several competitions. Then, we have 6 prime candidates in the competition. Mr. Fang was also watching the live stream while drinking Coke. When he saw this scene, he spewed out his Coke. Pu. Are these 6 people the most powerful ones among them? The Outlanders memorized these 6 names and ironed them into their memory. Now, the competition will officially begin. Xiao Yulv glanced at the time and announced, now, let's turn the camera to the contestants. The first match is between Bellatrix Lu Ningyun of the Nanhua faction in the Morning Star Sea Realm versus the young desperado genius of Half City, the King of Rangers. Meanwhile, in the audience stand in Xon Fairy Qingyun continued to hum the song. The witch lifted her wand and left a frost flower on the windowsill. In her arms was a big bag of potato chips that Mr. Fang gave to her. Before she could eat, her little disciple Zhu grabbed a big handful from the bag. Crunch! Crunch! Zhu ate more than half of the chips that she grabbed in a few seconds. Fairy Qingyun glared at Zhu with her beautiful eyes and said, what did I tell you before we came out? You must wash your hands before eating. And you must chew and eat slowly. One more thing, don't eat chips in secret without my permission. Do you remember? Sitting near them, Mr. Fang's face twitched as he thought, I think she's really your daughter. It was the Outlanders' first time watching an esports competition. Jessica ate her melon, and Carl poured himself another cup of wine. The 6 powerful people that those 2 mentioned are not in the first match, right? Carl sipped his wine and said, although these natives' power goes beyond our imagination, some of them are not as strong as the others. While taking a bite from her melon, Jessica said, this girl looks no older than us. It seems that they are letting the ordinary masters in the younger generation battle first, and the more powerful ones will come out later. Kevin said, yet. If my memory serves me right, Jessica, you are one of the best in your family, right? She isn't called the shadow spirit for nothing. Carl lifted his cup and chuckled. I wonder if I can defeat this woman. Jessica licked her red lips, looking very interested. She had wanted to beat all the people in this world senseless. But now, she had lowered her expectations and began to compare herself with the geniuses in the younger generation. Although the contestants all looked powerful, they represented more than half of the most powerful masters in this world. The Outlanders were sent here with a mission. Although they had been stunned by the opening cinematics, they must do their due diligence and investigate, and they would never do nothing and just go back. At least, they must investigate their enemy's strength first. To do the investigation, watching the competition was the first step. These Outlanders could only watch from the distance, but they were not stupid. If the contestants had poor combat techniques and battle experience and had disguised their poor performance with grand and dazzling explosive effects, they would have seen through it. However, from the previous opening cinematics, they could see that every move, technique, and spiritual spell that these people used followed certain laws of nature, and they could roughly understand them. They couldn't fake these techniques. Outsiders only watched for fun, but the experts could see the differences. Since these Outlanders were true masters, they could see the essence and great power of these techniques. In fact, after learning their awakening skills, many cultivators of the spiritual state didn't know how horrifying these skills were since they didn't have anything to compare them with. Perhaps only the few ancient families that had studied the ethereal celestial relics knew something about the true power of these skills. However, these Outlanders had the most direct experience. They could compare these skills with their own and understand which was stronger and by how much. This contestant is only a child who is about 12 years old. Carl shook his head and said, I think their younger generation is still no match for ours. The moment he said it, the scene before them suddenly changed. Lu Ningyun, who was holding a spear, suddenly emitted golden light like an imposing godly statue. As if she were defying gravity, her whole body floated up while horrifying magic power surrounded her and condensed into armor and a huge battle spear. While emitting golden light, she looked like a goddess. A huge streak of magic power exploded, turning everything around her to dust. My goodness! Lu Ningyun successfully used the skill, Tina Transformation. The King of Rangers is in danger. The two casters were shouting on top of their lungs. Tina Transformation! Aren't they just two young people? Seeing the horrifying presence sweeping across the space, and the golden blade chopping everything before it into two halves, Carl subconsciously dropped his wine cup. I spilled my wine again. I spilled it again. His pants were wet. My melon! With an exclamation, Jessica dropped it again. This was why battle mages would transform into Tina after awakening. Now, let's review their previous moves, Xiao Yulf said. They fought steadily, and then contestant Lu Ningyun grabbed an opportunity to use her killing technique. She seemed to use sky assault and missed on purpose to trick her opponent into moving in a specific direction. Then, she sent him flying. While her opponent was airborne, she chanted spells to apply buffs to herself before transforming into a Tina. Mu Donglei explained, this contestant is very decisive. If not for the magic protection that came with his reinforced equipment, the King of Ranger would have been killed. But we can see that the King of Rangers' HP isn't in a good situation now. He has been knocked up. Can he regain his balance and slow down the tempo of this battle? The King of Rangers tried his best to protect his vital parts, but we can see that he had been severely wounded. On the big screen, the dignified Tina, who looked like the martial god, slashed out her saber, and the terrifying golden saber energy would turn everything before her into two halves. It wasn't a power that humans could block. The blade turned back and hacked down with vicious force. Finished! Xiao Yulv yelled, he will die if he is hit by this blade strike. Mu Donglei shook his head and said, the King of Rangers is too young after all. I encountered this contestant in the dojo and found that he is a hard-working and talented player. But on this arena, experience is very important. Right now, Jessica had no time to pick up melons. She almost stuck her head into the screen before her. What did she just see? This all originated from the man getting hit by the spear, which wasn't a hard strike. A few seconds later, the battle had entered a critical stage where one contestant was going to be killed. It's finished, Carl said. This Tina obviously has god-level strength, and this cultivator using the weird spiritual artifact, a gun, is too weak. It seems that there are weak ones among them, Kevin said cheerfully. For example, this young man is one of the weak ones. I wonder why they allowed a weakling like him to enter the competition. The match is coming to an end. Let's congratulate. To survive in the chaotic and lawless zone in Empyrean, the gunners must be able to draw out their guns and shoot very swiftly. In most cases, one mistake would mean death. Wang Luo, a survivor in the chaotic half-city, had never imagined that some people in another world would have lives so similar to his. Without great talents like other cultivators, guns were his best option as weapons. In the competition venue on the second floor of Yuanyang City, the young man wearing a virtual reality headset wasn't fearful or regretful that he would soon lose this match. At least, he had come to the competition with his beloved guns and shouldn't go back in disgrace. More importantly, he didn't want his desperado character, who was wearing a purple windbreaker, to lose without firing one bullet. At least, he still had one chance to fire. In the next moment, the Outlanders in the heaven-hiding palace widened their eyes while they watched the scene shown by the screen created by the spiritual spell. The contestant's body seemed to defy the law of physics while he lifted his hand and fired unexpectedly. Revenger. The King of Rangers used the recoil force of Revenger to dodge the attack. He could even dodge this attack. Who's this king of rangers? He's too powerful. How come I've never heard of him before? All the cultivators and warriors in Xone and before the various big screens of the live stream stood up without thinking. Boom! With a loud, earth-shaking sound, the ground of the arena cracked into two halves. For rangers who were constantly gripped by the fear of death, drawing and firing had become their second nature, and they could do it as easily as breathing. Even when they lost balance or consciousness, they could fire like a conditional reflex. Flying gun. In fact, any gunner who reached the supreme tier could use this technique, but now the King of Rangers dodged another strike with the flying gun technique. He is pulling away from his opponent swiftly. Does he still have a chance? Moving shot. Silver bullet. Rising shot. Oh! They are useless. Mu Donglei yelled, the Bellatrix won't be sent flying by magic power. On the screen, the Desperado retreated under the attacks from the Bellatrix. My goodness! This King of Rangers is so calm. Xiao Yulv exclaimed, he's on the verge of dying, but he's still dodging attacks. We can see that the King of Rangers is using all kinds of weapons including Gatling gun, grenades, and rising bullets to interfere with his opponent's attacks. Although the effects are insignificant, he doesn't want to admit defeat. It looks like an ant's struggle before death. Karl shook his head and said, facing an opponent much stronger than him, he is seeking death if he doesn't give up. I have to say that contestant Lu Ningyun has chosen the perfect time to transform. Mu Donglei lamented, at this moment, even if the King of Rangers uses his awakening skill, it will be in vain. Have you guys noticed that the King of Rangers hasn't used headshot? Xiao Yulv suddenly said. Headshot didn't only refer to shooting the opponent's head, it was a skill to shoot at the opponent's vital points. This technique consumed lots of energy and magic power. They could only see the Bellatrix's golden saber energies, which showed that this wasn't a battle between opponents of the same level. However, in the next moment, a bullet shot through the saber energies. The audience saw a weird skeleton flashing past. Sudden death. Mu Donglei yelled in shock, is this sudden death? The King of Rangers used sudden death in the match. At this moment, even Mr. Fang stood up. The passive skill, sudden death, of Desperados was an instinctive combat skill which was obtained through many battles. With this skill, the Desperados could sense their opponent's vital points, but its accuracy is extremely low. He actually hit her. The moment that the weird skeleton appeared, the Bellatrix collapsed. What's this spiritual artifact? It can even kill gods. It was an instant kill. The people in the Heaven Hiding Palace yelled in shock. Grenade and then sliding tackle. Contestant Lu Ningyun was knocked back to her ordinary form by the hit. My goodness, the King of Rangers is fighting back. He is fighting back while he's on the verge of death. The two casters yelled hoarsely. At this moment, regardless if he wins or loses, this player has won our respect. His unyielding spirit is a quality that all of us, both warriors and cultivators, must have. Mu Donglei yelled, it's the spirit of our supreme tier players. He deserves the name of Desperado. At this moment, the audience all stood up with excitement, and the whole venue was engulfed by earth-shaking cheering. It had been obvious that the girl who was a Bellatrix was winning, and her opponent was in no position to continue the match. They were about to announce the result. What's happening? How come things changed so fast? With melon or wine in their hands, these people continued watching intently. It's usually hard to hit the target with sudden death. Mu Donglei said, that shot was amazing. Is he going to turn the tables? Xiao Yulv yelled in shock. Lu Ningyun can still use the skill, phase shift, where she will teleport to a nearby spot and leave behind a decoy. Will she use it? In this situation, she must use it. She's using it. We can see that Lu Ningyun is fighting with great caution. She has realized that the King of Rangers must have worked hard on sudden death. Now with her Tina transformation was destroyed, she has consumed lots of her energy and can't transform again. However, the King of Rangers still has his awakening skill with him since he didn't use it yet. Will he use it now? We can see that Lu Ningyun is being forced into a corner by the King of Rangers. No. Finished. The two casters were howling, I can't believe that he flipped the situation in such a match. Before them, the King of Rangers shot wildly with his revolver, and every shot followed a special rhythm. The bullets flew and formed a huge net. He is turning the tables. Mu Donglei yelled. The Outlanders in Heaven Hiding Palace were stunned. Amazing! I can't believe that he can turn the tables in such a situation. I can't believe that we can watch such a thrilling battle in this place. I've never watched such an exciting battle before. Carl sipped his wine elegantly while he watched the match with his peripheral vision. Suddenly, a golden light flashed. A long saber that was surrounded by a golden dragon stabbed out viciously. Dragon Strike! Lu Ningyun's Dragon Strike! Pu! Carl didn't spill his wine on his pants this time, he spewed it out. The casters were stunned as they sat on their seats. The King of Rangers? Ugh! The tables turned against him. Xiao Yulv and Mu Donglei exchanged a look. Damn it! How can we cast this match properly? The two of them froze for a while, and so did the audience. Then, the two casters suddenly stood up and yelled, these two contestants showed the greatest competition spirit. Let's congratulate the winner. Although the King of Rangers lost, he is still an honorable player. Ha 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 ha, they had the urge of quitting their job. Inside the Heaven Hiding Palace it was a great match, Jessica laughed and said, no one could have predicted the end result. It was so unexpected. Carl quickly wiped off the wine on his face. This esports competition is enthralling. Then, let's congratulate, now, the next match is Grandmaster Nalan Hongwu vs. Now, the matches in Group B are happening right now. As time went on, melon rinds littered the floor. Several maids cleaned the floor again and again. Lady Jessica, it's time for your meal. Oh, get me 2 more melons. This, the maid said embarrassedly, we ran out of melons, ugh. Lady Jessica. You guys have watched that for a whole day now, the maid reminded her. How come I feel like it wasn't good enough to watch like this? I have the same feeling. This spiritual spell can't show the scenes clearly. I can't make the spell too obvious and powerful. Otherwise, these natives will discover it. Jessica stared at them and said, besides, I'm not someone whose job is to master this spell. We can go to the venue and watch it up close. Aren't you afraid that they will discover us? Didn't you notice that they are competing in another world? If they battled in this world, the shattering of space and summoning of demons would be too much for ordinary cultivators to see. You're right, but we look different from those natives. Will they recognize us? Kevin said with unease. Don't worry, Carl said, we can dress up as people of the ultimate West Realm. The Dungeon Fighter online competition was held on the first day. On the spiritual state, besides the talented people of the 7 families, some grandmasters lived reclusive lives in the depths of mountains and devoted all their time on cultivation. Since these people lived outside the mortal world, they were not known to the people in the mortal world. The ancient families were aware of the existence of these reclusive cultivators, but these two groups seldom had dealings with each other since they were of different worlds. These hermits didn't venture into the relics such as Sky Relic and Fortune Golden Palace. If not for the imminent catastrophe of the spiritual state's cultivation world, no one would know about their existence. 7 Saint Mountain was such a place, it could be counted as an ancient reclusive inheritance. Different from other cultivators, these cultivators seldom set their foot in the mortal world and thus cultivated few spiritual spells used to fight with people. However, living as hermits in the mountains didn't mean that they knew nothing about the mortal world. Different from paying attention in the normal sense, they predicted the future of the spiritual state by observing the stars and constellations. Even though they had never set foot out of Seven Saint Mountain, they were not ignorant of the important issues in the world. Meanwhile, on Seven Saint Mountain was a series of rolling hills and peaks covered by white snow. However, in the depths of the peaks was a valley that was as balmy as spring all year round. At this moment, a white-haired old man was sitting by a small lake cross-legged. Behind him was a forest of pine trees that were deep green. A grey-haired, middle-aged man sat down beside him with a mild expression, and he had a zither in his arms. A deist boy who was about 10 years and had his hair tied into 2 buns was heating a pot of spiritual herb tea. Meanwhile, a deist wearing a grey deist robe strolled toward them from the path beside the creek and sang, "White clouds, yellow cranes, a deist's home. 1 zither, 1 sword, and 1 cup of tea. Peace and inaction are my nature, understanding Deo without stains from the mortal world. What brings deist friend Wuchen Zi here?" The deist asked while sitting cross-legged by the lake and resting with eyes closed. "Ha ha ha ha. Suyu deist has top-quality Longsu tea which matures once every 700 years. Now, it's time to enjoy the tea. I was curious as to why you are here. You are here to have free tea." The middle-aged man who carried a zither laughed. "Unfortunately, deist Qingyun is out in the mortal world and doesn't have the fortune to enjoy the tea. I told her to go down the mountain later." A pretty woman who had silver hair and was wearing green clothes shook her head and said with a low snort, "That's what she gets for not listening to experienced people. Lying." At this moment, a clear and high-pitched bird chirp resonated in the sky, and a red-crowned crane landed on the ground. Fairy Qingyun sent a message. Fairy Qingyun sent a message. The red-crowned crane croaked and delivered the message. Ugh! These people looked baffled. "Message so soon? Fairy Qingyun sent you many things." "Many things? What good stuff can the mortal world have?" the deist said with a snort. "Iced red tea. Delicious iced red tea." The red-crowned crane yelled, "An iPhone communication jade with QQ. You can watch esports competition on it." "What did you say?" They looked even more confused. They were dazed by these things, and they thought, although we stayed in the depths of the mountains for a long time, we aren't bumpkins who know nothing. Don't try to fool us by getting these things that we never heard about. Wait. The white-haired deist moved his fingers and said, "Let me do some calculations and see what deist friend Qingyun is up to." Suyu deist stroked his beard lightly and calculated with his fingers. How is it?" The others leaned over. Be patient, be patient. Let me do it again." He moved his fingers and calculated again. Ugh! With widened eyes, he calculated again. Ugh! What's up? Before they could finish, they saw the red-crowned crane playing with the communication jade. Soon, they heard earth-shaking cheers, and a mystical virtual screen already appeared above the communication jade. What's this? On a huge circular arena, Fairy Qingyun in a white dress held a microphone in her hand and said, "Wow! Yesterday's battles were thrilling. This is deist friend Qingyun. Right. The battles were fierce from the very beginning. My heart was in my throat several times." Demonic woman Ning Bai patted her plump chest. At this moment, these deists each had a cup of tea in their hands, sipping it with great enjoyment. "Little crane, we don't have any tea left for you. We already divvied it up." Wuchen Zi laughed smugly with a cup of Longsu tea in his hand. "You're bullying me. Wow! It smells so good." Wuchen Zi sniffed the tea with intoxication written on his face. "I'm furious. I'm furious." The red-crowned crane flapped its wings in fury. Then, it rolled its eyes and said, I can drink the iced red tea." After opening the cap, it poured the amber-colored liquid into a crystal cup. As a faint tea fragrance permeated the air, this white-red crowned crane put 3 ice cubes into the cup. The others deeply inhaled with great interest. What's this? Only immortals deserve to have this tea. 3 minutes later, they all watched the esports competition with a cup of iced red tea in each of their hands. On the other side here. This way. Jessica walked before the others and enthusiastically waved at the people behind her. It was hot, but Carl was tightly engulfed in a big cloak like a zongzi. It seemed like he was afraid to be beaten if he were recognized. Stealthily, he walked up from behind with caution. Aren't you afraid that the commander of that golden battleship fleet will discover us? Hush, we're people of the ultimate West Realm. Mr. Fang was sitting in an inconspicuous seat while wearing sunglasses. He looked very low-profiled. He turned around and saw that several blonde-haired foreign-looking people suddenly took seats near him. One was a seductive woman with blonde curls and a big sword, and she was dressed in the style of the ultimate West Realm. Another was a blonde young man. The last one was a lean and tall young man covered by a cloak. He had long brown hair and seemed to have mixed racial features. Here. Come here. There are many empty seats. This guy has low cultivation strength and won't discover our background. Jessica whispered to the others. New friends from the ultimate West Realm. Mr. Fang froze for a moment. It didn't occur to him that blonde people might not all come from the ultimate West Realm but rather from another world. Jessica and her companions froze for a moment as well. It's okay. He's just an ordinary person weaker than the pinnacle stage of low level. Jessica turned her head and said to her companions in a low voice. This spot is good, there's only ordinary people around us. Kevin nodded. Mr. Fang glanced at them curiously. What are you looking at? Immediately, the blonde woman glared at him fiercely. Low-level native. Humph. Mr. Fang was puzzled. How come these people of the ultimate West Realm are so unfriendly? After all, the people of the ultimate West Realm had become friendly to Mr. Fang after losing to him despite their arrogance before others. However, Fang Qi didn't have time to deal with them now since the competition had begun. Today is very important since the champion will be decided on later. The camera had turned to Xiao Yulv. As everyone knows, with his excellent experience, Mr. Mu had made a bold prediction and pointed out the 6 most promising candidates for the champion. Will one of them become the champion? The results will come out today. Hiss. Today, we will watch the 6 Supreme Masters in battle. Jessica exclaimed in a low voice. The blonde man Kevin said, Indeed. I carefully watched yesterday and found that those 6 people are indeed as powerful as these 2 claimed. Meanwhile, Carl didn't forget his wine cup and took it out. Somehow, Jessica took out an exquisite small golden plate with neatly placed melon cubes. She picked up a piece with a silver fork before putting it into her mouth elegantly. Kevin's hands were empty, and he looked at them with a dark expression. It's thrilling that the first match is between Wang Xiat, one of the 6 Supreme Masters, and that person named Zhu Yangxiao. Everyone had seen that Wang Xia had performed excellently in the previous matches. He can be called the Wind God. The 2 casters began their discussion. Indeed. His minuscule control of wines and creative combat styles are bright spots in this competition. Also, every master knows that the Swift Master class is very hard to handle for low-level opponents who can't control it well, Mu Donglei said. Skills like Headwind and Twister are very good initiation attacks which cover a large area and can easily make opponents lose balance. Now, we can see that the battle has begun. Wang Xia's combat style is very aggressive. Gusts howled on the big screen. Under Wang Xia's control, tornadoes and hurricanes danced like many fierce dragons. Contestant Zhu Yangxiao is very cautious, but he can't continue this way. The 2 casters analyzed the match with great knowledge and experience. The audience near Mr. Fang watched intently. In the raucous cheers of awesome, amazing, and unrivaled, Mr. Fang felt the people near him jump up to their feet. Use Vortex Hurricane. Use Vortex Hurricane. Wind Shadow Flash. This skill is good. Use this skill, someone screamed. The screams hurt Mr. Fang's ears. Now, Zhu Yangxiao is one of the last few civilian warriors left in this competition and represents the last hope of all ordinary players. But it is a pity that he encountered Wang Xie, a super powerful opponent. Xiao Yulv said, even though I hope that some ordinary players will stand out and obtain great rankings, we have to be practical. You are right. Although to reach some balance, the competition has restricted the use of pink godly equipment over level 51, the gap still exists between the two groups. Zhu Yangxiao is obviously at the disadvantage in terms of equipment, Mu Donglei said with a nod. We can see that contestant Zhu Yangxiao has chosen this godly weapon, which is a lightsaber. It is a pitch-black lightsaber, which is what we call black light. We don't see any problem in his choice of equipment, but we heard that he had just acquired this black light not long ago, and he was still not too familiar with this new weapon in the previous matches. Xiao Yulv continued, well, this will have a great impact on his performance in the competition. Contestant Zhu Yangxiao is still looking for a chance to attack, he's moving around his opponent on the outer range. Humph! This Grandmaster is not as strong as we expected. The Outlanders began to comment. Carl said with a wine cup in his hand, indeed, compared with the great performance of one of the Supreme Masters, who is being called Wind God, this guy named Zhu Yangxiao is weak. He's scrambling around on the arena like a mouse, when will he stop running? Kevin was getting a little impatient. Mr. Fang said casually as his face slightly twitched, don't say anything if you don't understand, all right? After all, it's not only a competition of skills but a mental game as well. Ugh! The Outlanders looked at him contemptuously, thinking, you're a low-level native, do you think you know more than us? At this moment, a yell came from the caster's desk. Although contestant Zhu Yangxiao has been evasive, contestant Wang Xie still caught up with him. A sense of displeasure appeared in Jessica's pale golden eyes, and she replied, shut up. We don't need your opinion. Ugh! What's wrong with these people of the ultimate West Realm? Fang Qi thought to himself and toyed with the idea of finding their leaders and beating them so that they learn a lesson. As everyone knows, male mages can use teleport. It's puzzling that a male slayer is trying to run circles with a male mage. This strategy seems strange, Xiao Yulv commented. It's indeed not wise. Hearing the caster's words, Jessica added, did you hear that? This combat strategy is not wise. Mr. Fang was at a loss for words. The moment Jessica said it, the two casters exclaimed, Phantom Slash! Contestant Zhu Yangxiao turned back and is going to fight head-on. It's a suicidal attack. We can see that contestant Zhu Yangxiao chose to attack at the risk of his life. On the big screen, Zhu Yangxiao created a curtain of horrifying sword shadows as if his sword was a phantom. The whole screen was filled with purple sword shadows. He missed. Contestant Wang Xie used his agile movement and moved out of his attack range. Phantom Slash missed. Xiao Yulv yelled, this is a big mistake. Contestant Wang Xie will take this opportunity to give his opponent a heavy blow. Sure enough, Wang Xie had chanted the empowerment spells. The audience screamed, waiting for the thrilling moment. The Outlanders stood up again and shouted, Vortex Hurricane! Use Vortex Hurricane! They all shrieked. With a dark expression, Mr. Fang reminded them since he was feeling kind, if he uses Vortex Hurricane at this moment, his opponent will instantly use Ultimate Slay, Tempest, the awakening skill of Grand Masters. He wouldn't get any benefits from it. Besides, Zhu Yangxiao is about to fight back. Fight back? How can he fight back? Jessica said contemptuously, don't say things that you don't understand. Where's Zhu Yangxiao? What do we see? Aerial Chain Slash! They heard a yell. Zhu Yangxiao used Phantom Slash as a diversion to block his opponent's vision and sense of wind. Now that Aerial Chain Slash fell from the sky, it caught Wang Xie off guard. It hit. upward slash, secret sword art, and gore cross. Contestant Wang Xie is caught in a close-range battle with a slayer. Xiao Yulv howled, can contestant Wang Xie get away from him? Backstep cutter and then secret sword art. Contestant Zhu Yangxiao didn't want to knock his opponent into the air. Instead, he suppressed Wang Xie using combos with this method. My goodness! His attacks are so fast that contestant Wang Xie was suppressed on the ground. He can do nothing but dodge. He can't fight back. Contestant Wang Xie is in danger. His HP is dropping continuously. Wind Blaster. Contestant Wang Xie withstood one sword attack and took the opportunity to push away contestant Zhu Yangxiao with Wind Blaster by force. Headwind. He's fighting back. Contestant Wang Xie grabbed this chance and drew Zhu Yangxiao back toward him with great wind power. No. What's contestant Zhu Yangxiao doing? With an exclamation, the young man with the black lightsaber on the screen was drawn by the wind power and flew toward Wang Xie. At this moment, he stabbed his lightsaber forward with both hands on the handle. Fierce strike? But he's too far away to use this skill. Suddenly, the black lightsaber's aura expanded, and it broke open the gust and stabbed toward Wang Xie with vicious force. It's thrust. My goodness! How could he think of using thrust at this moment? After all, this skill wasn't very useful, and few people thought of learning it. Wang Xie's counterattack was interrupted, another exclamation sounded. The audience was stunned as they watched the scene and this flash of sword energy. If not for this event called an esports competition, no one would witness such a thrilling performance. Charge crash. He wins. Contestant Zhu Yangxiao actually won. How is this possible? Wang Xie hasn't gotten the chance to use his best attack, Vortex Hurricane. How did he lose? It was a wild guess that got you the correct answer, right? Damn it! Even the casters had been wrong about the result. How come this ordinary person with low-level cultivation strength got the right result? On Seven Saint Mountain, the several deists sat together cross-legged, intently staring at the screen that the new communication jade projected. It was a thrilling giant reversal of the situation. Even the old, peaceful deists were excited by the battle. It's a blessing for the cultivation world of the spiritual state to have so many talented cultivators. Many civilians who were exploring the long path of warriors and cultivators were so thrilled that they felt like roaring in exhilaration. Their blood was boiling. The young people watching the competition on the square in Nanhua faction couldn't close their mouths. Even civilian warriors are so powerful. It's true that no contestants in the esports competition are weak, their senior brothers told them, put more effort in your cultivation. When you are strong enough, you can be like them. Yes. Senior brother. They were excited. At this moment, all the cultivators and warriors watching from the stands stood up and yelled while gazing at the proud figure who was standing on the arena with the black lightsaber in his hand, Black Light Grand Master. Black Light Grand Master. Perhaps even after many years, the audience members who watched this competition wouldn't forget this place and this sword strike. After this match, the first of the 6 Supreme Masters fell at the beginning of today's competition. Wang Xie couldn't even get out of the group stage, let alone becoming the champion. The competition continued. After several matches, the second of the 6 Supreme Masters came out. He was Zhang Hao, the Vice Academy Master of the Heavenly Academy and Yu Bai's Master. Vice Academy Master Zhang's class is Radiant Lion, the first awakening of Mailnan Masters. He can control the flow of air with the power of Nen. Mu Donglei said, right. He can use the extremely hard Nen Guard and indestructible energy shield. This class can attack like fire and defend like a mountain. Out of all classes that have various combat techniques, this class is equipped with the most comprehensive techniques. For the people in this world, they preferred to use the term combat techniques rather than skills. His opponent is Fu Jianghe, a moderate ordinary player. His class is Dragon Fist, the first awakening of strikers. The match has begun. Hey! Who do you think will win? The lofty Outlanders were unwilling to accept the loss since this ordinary person had guessed right last time when they got it wrong. Jessica asked Fang Qi beside her with provocation in her eyes. I choose Vice Academy Master Zhang Hao. On the screen, Fu Jianghe seemed to be at the disadvantage. Besides, Zhang Hao was one of the 6 Supreme Masters, which convinced Jessica that he would certainly be the winner. Mr. Fang said, I think Fu Jianghe is more likely to win. Stupid. Jessica was pleased as she thought, natives are just natives. Sitting in the audience stand, Mu Qing looked worried. To prepare for the Great War, Master had forced himself to learn the awakening skill and seemed to have encountered a problem in the process. I hope it won't affect him, Yu Bai said. I don't suppose it will. 2 minutes later it's finished. Vice Academy Master Zhang seems out of form today. Contestant Fu Jianghe is fighting back. Contestant Zhang Hao can't block him at all. Contestant Fu Jianghe actually won. The 2 casters were dazed. Even Vice Academy Master Zhang had just lost. A scream sounded beside Mr. Fang. Jessica was frustrated and thought, how come it ended like this? 1 hour later in the next match, we have the 3rd candidate out of the 6 who has the highest potential to obtain the champion. Nalan Hung Guyu. Let's do it again. The Outlanders were not willing to accept defeat. We choose Nalan Hung Guyu. Who do you choose? Mr. Fang's face darkened. I'll choose the uncle-like male priest in black clothes on the other side. What is wrong with these people of the ultimate West Realm? They had lost twice and still want to continue with this game. 3 minutes later impossible. Lost again. How could it be? The Outlanders beside Fang Qi had the urge to kill someone. How can we be so unlucky today? Jessica stared at Mr. Fang and said, again. Let's do it again. Mr. Fang was impatient. You lost 3 times now. I don't want to do it anymore. I admit defeat, okay? You win. No. Mr. Fang's face twitched as he thought, damn, this girl is unwilling to let it go. She's insistent. How about this? Jessica took out a beautiful golden rock from somewhere and said, I bet you've never seen such a rock before, right? Seeing the puzzlement on Mr. Fang's face which showed that he had never seen it before, Jessica said smugly, this is a treasure that you, a little warrior, can't understand. I will just tell you that this rock is priceless in this world. If you bet against us and win, this treasure is yours. Mr. Fang looked at it and asked, how come you people of the ultimate West Realm are all so wealthy? Previously, SIA deposited 2 million crystals in one go. Now, these people took out this priceless treasure. At this moment, Fang Qi heard a prompt from the system that had been silent lately, a huge and pure source of energy is detected. The host can choose to acquire it. Resigned, Mr. Fang agreed and said, okay, you said that it's a priceless treasure. Don't fool me, okay? I hope you're not lying. Of course. Do we look like those types of people? Carl said arrogantly on the side. The next match is Ms. Sprite vs Rosen Rain, a mistress. Ning Bai was facing a female priest who was covered in a black cloak. Now, I choose this Ms. Sprite. Tell us, who do you choose? What choice do I have? Mr. Fang said in disdain. I choose Rosen Rain then. Smugly, Jessica turned her eyes to the match. 3 minutes later, how come this Rosen Rain is so powerful? Xiao Yulv yelled, I've never heard of this person before. I seem to remember that she is the person who made the first sky outfit set. Mu Donglei said. She's so powerful. Finished. Ah! Before the 2 casters could howl, Jessica cried out beside Mr. Fang, impossible. Can you give me that rock now? Mr. Fang reached out his hand, looking harmless. No. Jessica said, let's bet again. Mr. Fang's face twitched as he said, "Forget it if you don't want to honor the bet. Anyways, I don't know you and can't hold you to it." "What? I would never be dishonorable." Jessica looked like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. "I said that let's bet again." She dug out a black cloak from somewhere and said, "If you win, I'll give you the rock and this shadow cloak. If you lose, this rock is still mine." "Jessica, maybe, it's time to stop." Carl, who was beside Jessica, was feeling unwell, and his face twitched. "No. How can an honorable figure like me lose to this little figure? This time, I choose Xian Yuan Chongqing." Again, she chose one of the 6 Supreme Masters. 3 minutes later. This is the last bet. Winner takes all." She took out a small, exquisite silver dagger. "This time, I bet on Nalan Mingxiu." She saw that Nalan Mingxiu's opponent was just a lowly who was about 12 years old. After all, how could a noblesse lose to a lowly? "You will bet on that little girl named Zhang Xiaoyu, how about that?" Mr. Fang spread his hands and said, "I don't have another option." "It's settled then." Xiao Yulv glanced at Mr. Mu who was sitting beside him and saw that the latter wasn't feeling well. Now, Nalan Mingxiu was the only one left in the 6 Supreme Masters. "Now, we're watching the last match in the 4th group of the F1 World Championship in the number 1 Worldwide Martial Dao Conference. Nalan Mingxiu vs Zhang Xiaoyu." Xiao Yulv said, "Mr. Mu, do you have confidence in this contestant?" "Of course, I have." Mr. Mu forced himself to calm down and said, "We had some accidents earlier, but I'm very confident in my judgment." Loud cheers sounded from the audience stands in Xone venue and the main venue. "Champion of 2 contests. Super genius. New Snow will win her 3rd championship." Hearing these types of cheers, Jessica who sat beside Mr. Fang finally felt a bit more confident, and she thought, it is a guaranteed win this time. Then, Xiao Yulv said, "In fact, Xiaoyu is quite cute. However, they are both our old friends, and we must be objective." "Right, Mr. Mu." "Indeed," Mr. Mu said, "contestant Nalan Mingxiu is impeccable both in experience and mindset. Comparatively, Xiaoyu is young and still lacks in these areas despite her great strength. Mr. Mu, have you considered that Mr. Fang might have taught Xiaoyu some ultimate skills?" Xiao Yulv shook his head and asked. Mu Donglei said, "Of course, I have considered that. However, Mr. Fang told us that he had never played the class of battle mage before, and he doesn't have to lie to us about this." Xiao Yulv said, "What if? I mean what if you're wrong again, Mr. Mu? Then, I'm the poisonous milk." Mu Donglei said firmly. "Okay. Let's return to the last match in the 4th group. The winner will advance to the next round to fight for the first 3 places." "What's poisonous milk?" Sitting near Mr. Fang, the Outlanders were bewildered. "Hey! We asked you a question." Mr. Fang had no intention of talking to them. "You?" Jessica had to enlist help from other people around her. "You don't know that? Are you from some remote unknown place? Which tribe of the ultimate West Realm are you all from? Pooh! Shame on you!" The Outlanders were all at a loss for words. Meanwhile, on the arena Nalan Mingxiu said, "Xiaoyu, big sister is good to you, right? Can you go easy on me?" "Pooh!" Zhang Xiaoyu stared at her and said angrily, "Boss told me not to believe a single word you say during the competition." Nalan Mingxiu's face froze. "Look at my skill." Zhang Xiaoyu dashed forward like a lightning bolt. The match already began. We can see that Zhang Xiaoyu moved and used Sky Assault first with decisiveness. She didn't give her opponent the chance to use Elemental Shift. Contestant Nalan Mingxiu is fighting with nimble moves. Once she gets close, her Crescent and Arcane Sword Blast will make it hard for her opponent to attack. Sword energies swept across the big screen and would have totally suppressed an ordinary opponent, not even giving the latter a chance to breath. In fact, it's dangerous for Xiaoyu to transform now. If the noblesse uses space-time cutter, she can't escape with phase shift, Xiao Yulv explained, even Athena can't block the explosive force of space-time cutter. But Nalan Mingxiu must be careful with the use of space-time cutter since it consumes lots of energy. If she misses, she will certainly lose to Tina transformation. Let's see how Xiaoyu handles her opponent who uses a huge sword aggressively. Besides, her opponent's protective energy, super armor, is too tough and impossible to break, Xiao Yulv commented. This noblesse is really powerful. Jessica watched the battle while eating a melon. Right now, Zhang Xiaoyu was obviously at the disadvantage, she was getting suppressed by Nalan Mingxiu. Mr. Fang glanced at Jessica without a word. What are you looking at? She cast a contemptuous glance at him and continued to enjoy her melon. Silently, Mr. Fang took out a bottle of iced red tea. He dropped a few ice cubes in it and shook the bottle. Then, he drank it heartily. Then, he took out a bag of potato chips from his storage space. He used to eat from Zhang Xiaoyu's bag. Today, he opened one bag himself while Zhang Xiaoyu was busy. Crunch! Crunch! Sipping iced red tea and crunching on the chips while watching the match, he enjoyed himself very much. Eating 1,000-year-old spiritual melon and sipping spiritual wine on the side, Carl was at a loss for words. This native is so brazen as to eat this garbage in front of our spiritual delicacies. At this moment, one commentator yelled, "Crescent hit its target. Tossing slash. My goodness! Xiaoyu is in danger. Phase shift." Phase shift was used. We can see Nalan Mingxiu coming up with swift sword. Will she use space-time cutter now? Xiaoyu is in mortal danger. Mu Donglei said, after the phase shift was lured out, Nalan Mingxiu is about to win. Then, he laughed and said, I told you that Nalan Mingxiu has the potential to win the championship, right? Xiao Yulv nodded and said, yeah. Oh! My goodness! Suddenly, gasps sounded from the audience stands. In the instant when Nalan Mingxiu dashed up, she was thrown up into the air. Then, a big saber with dragon patterns on it shot up like a dragon flying out from an abyss. Stabbing wheel broke the swift sword. After all, swift sword was extremely fast. To break it, the opponent must be faster than it and have a superior reaction speed, let alone sharp judgment. Sky Assault, Magic Missile, and followed by Dragon Strike. How can she fight back at this stage? Jessica felt like killing someone. Thinking that she would lose great treasures to the native sitting next to her, she had the urge to dash out and fight in person. How? Mu Donglei howled, don't do this to me. One of you must win and come out of the group stage. Finished. Nalan Mingxiu was clearly careless. Nalan Mingxiu is fighting back. It was just a careless mistake. Her strength is undoubtedly great. Flash that combined 3 strikes into one. Wave sword. Her opponent got hit once. Nalan Mingxiu charged without hesitation and used Ascent. Although her HP is low, Nalan Mingxiu has found a good rhythm in her counter-strikes. We can see that Zhang Xiaoyu has lost the ability to fight back. Mr. Mu and Xiao Yulv yelled in excitement and almost hugged each other. She's going to win. She is winning this match. Zhang Xiaoyu's HP is very low now, but Nalan Mingxiu's sword isn't stopping, forcing her opponent into a corner. Space-time cutter. She used space-time cutter. She will win. Finally, one of the 6 Supreme Masters who Mr. Mu pointed out earlier gave them the hope of winning a match. Forgetting to eat her melon, Jessica exclaimed on the stop, I win. I win this time. Obviously, Zhang Xiaoyu would surely lose if she were touched by space-time cutter. The horrifying strike shattered the space, leaving terrifying sword marks in the space of the arena one after another. Even the Outlanders gasped at this and thought, such a horrifying sword technique. Its horrifying power shattered the space. At this moment, another terrifying force just as powerful spread out. How come Xiaoyu is intact? My goodness! She used the tremendous magic power during Tina transformation to block several sword strikes. When the space was shattered, the Tina was severely wounded but didn't collapse. Arcane Sword Blast. Nalan Mingxiu struck again. The Tina transformation will be broken without a doubt. A huge, horrifying spiritual sword hacked down from the sky, turning into many sword energies before exploding and making a ton of noises. The Tina who was severely injured got instantly enveloped by the overwhelming power. She won. In the explosions of sword energies, a golden bolt of saber energy flashed by. When the dust settled, they both lay on the ground. Who won? Mr. Mew was impatient. Nalan Mingxiu, you must win. I can't take the bad reputation of poisonous milk. Jessica almost jumped up from her seat. Let's watch the replay. Watch the replay. Xiao Yulv said immediately. In the slow replay, they saw that Xiaoyu's full swing hit Nalan Mingxiu first. Then, after Nalan Mingxiu fell to the ground, Arcane Sword Blast hit Zhang Xiaoyu on the second strike. Zhang Xiaoyu won the match by a very narrow margin. Jessica was about to go crazy. Obviously, they didn't understand the power of poisonous milk in an esports competition. It seems like Xiudong Immortal has a great successor, Mr. Fang murmured to himself. TL note, Xiudong Huang was a sportscaster in China. He got famous in his early years of casting soccer matches, and he later casted esports matches such as League of Legends. He is famous for predicting a victor and the opposite team winning. From this day on, everyone remembered the 6 Supreme Tier Masters who were killed by poisonous milk in the esports competition. Jessica was so angry that she had the urge to reveal her true identity to shock this damn native. Clearly, she suppressed this urge and didn't do that. What were you mumbling about? These outlanders stared at Mr. Fang suspiciously, and they even suspected that Mr. Fang might have played some tricks to win all the bets. How come we lost all the bets? It seems like a strange power is working against us. Did this kid manipulate the results? It doesn't seem likely since he is only an ordinary person. This, Mr. Fang explained, I say, you guys really don't know what esports poisonous milk is? I suppose you don't know who Xiudong Immortal is. What is esports poisonous milk? Who is Xiudong Immortal? They looked at Mr. Fang in bewilderment. Mr. Fang said, maybe I'll tell you the story about him. Then, he told them a story from the ancient Oriental world. When they heard the part of the story where Xiudong Immortal said, how can he lose with so many mutalisks on his opponent's face, the outlanders looked at Fang Qi incredulously with widened eyes. You mean the powerful Tudming Emperor led a huge army of flying dragon-like creatures to his enemy's base, but they got crushed because of a few words from this Xiudong Immortal. TL note, on June 3, 2014, Tudming played against Alicia in Group F of WCS America RO32. In the third game, which was match point, Alicia made an early mistake and fell into a big disadvantage. During that time, Xiudong Huang was casting, and he said that there was no way that Tudming was going to lose this. And then Tudming lost with the big advantage. This later turned into a meme in China. Of course, Mr. Fang imitated Xiudong's words and said, damn it! I'm a professional caster, all right? How could a professional caster not understand this situation? Ha 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 ha! Jessica laughed so hard that she almost fell to the ground and hammered the floor with her fists. The others tried hard to suppress their laughter and said, this Xiudong Immortal can be so hilarious at times. While listening to the secret story of the Immortal, they watched the StarCraft competition. Are they above the void? So powerful! These people can mass-produce such powerful battlecruisers and carriers. This is called airdroptionic lightning matrix. They stared at the screen as a wave of horrifying lightning nets swept across the battlefield like a storm. The armies in neat formations from different races and different planets in the universe battled each other at full force under the fast and precise commands of contestants. Such epic-scale battles stunned the audience every time. After his failure in the prediction of the Dungeon Fighter online competition, Mr. Mew was cautious with the StarCraft competition and made modest comments. He didn't repeat his mistake. Since the two people who had defeated Nalan Hongguo and Ning Bai respectively were in the same group, only one of them advanced to the next round. The first place of the first group was Grandmaster Zhu Yangxiao, and the first place of the fourth group was Zhang Xiaoyu. Surprisingly, the fourth contestant who made it out of groups was. In the half-city shop, a mass of black mist put down its virtual reality headset and laughed. Ha 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 ha. I'm unrivaled. This time, I'll win first place. On the screen, there was a berserker who held a slim long saber. My Hellbringer is unrivaled in the world. Unbelievable. The smirk face emoji wants to be the champion. Ning Bai, who had lost to an unknown female priest, looked at this mass of black mist in contempt. Get out of here. Little demonic woman Shui Bai, you lost to an unknown player. Just watch how Granddaddy wins the first place. In the StarCraft competition, the players who made it out of groups included Old Academy Master Gu Tingyun of the Heavenly Academy, the Zika Spiritual Master of the Nanhua faction, Tang Family Master Tang Huan of the Spiritual State, and the fourth was Li Haoran, the only player from the younger generation. He had advanced to the next round with a narrow margin. After all, some senior masters didn't have a lot of time to spend playing the game. In StarCraft, the players acted as ordinary commanders whose strategies and tactics came almost entirely from the experience, intelligence, and adaptability of the players themselves. In this area, the more senior masters had obvious advantages. In the backstage of the arena, two figures covered by black cloaks were whispering to each other. Thank you for giving the opportunity to me. You must win first place. I will. The figure hidden in the black robe clenched her fists. Rosen Rain. The match is about to begin. Ah! Coming! She raced out. In this competition, the female priest Rosen Rain was a big black horse. In the first match of the elimination round, she and the smirk face emoji engaged in an astonishing battle. Both parties dazzled the audience with their great control of combat rhythm and details. Finally, Rosen Rain won the match with a narrow margin, and she would enter the final match with the Black Light Grand Master who had narrowly won against Zhang Xiaoyu. Soon, the match for the third place began. We can see that Demon God Almighty is in a poor form, but he still has some advantage over Xiaoyu. Ah! Is this Xiaoyu? She's so sly and cunning. So dirty. She's using magic missile and aiming for her opponent's weaknesses. In this match, Xiaoyu is very specific with her moves. This specific combat style of aiming for weakness looks like Nose tactics. She has studied her opponent very well. In the last match, Demon God Almighty exposed all of his trump cards. Besides, he's in a poor form. He's finished. He has understood her tactics and swiftly changed his methods, but it's too late. Xiaoyu wins. In the half-city shop, a mass of black mist slammed its fists on the desk quickly and repeatedly. Now, it was time for the final match. We can see that they have totally different combat methods. Obviously, Black Light Grand Master's sword techniques are very fitting for his class. Yet, this contestant has achieved a big improvement. Mu Donglei said, I can tell that this contestant has grown a lot during the competition. However, Rosen Rain has perfect control of the details. Even though Black Light Grand Master doesn't want to compete with Rosen Rain in terms of details and has tried to fight with tactics, he is being forced to back off by his opponent. Even though the battle with Demon God Almighty consumed a lot of Rosen Rain's energy, we can see that she has no problem suppressing Black Light Grand Master in a steady fashion. Black Light Grand Master continues to consume his opponent with his unique and sly style, but, Xiao Yulv exclaimed, it's useless. Obviously, Rosenrain has seen through his strategy and remained steady in each attack. She is consuming his energy as well. Her mindset is really good and stable. Black Light Grandmaster must do something at this point. Ultimate Slay, Tempest. My goodness! Black Light Grandmaster found a gap in his opponent's movements and used Tempest. Scud the Wrathful Demon. Scythe Massacre. We can see that Rosenrain has transformed into a demon and used the great demonic power to block Tempest. Xiao Yulv yelled, my goodness! She blocked it. But her HP is low. Can Black Light Grandmaster use one more strike? Guillotine. It's finished. He's hooked by Rosenrain's guillotine. He lost. Let's congratulate Rosenrain, the biggest black horse of this competition. Congratulations! Loud, wave-like cheers erupted on the platform and the audience stands. The whole place turned into an ocean of cheers. The pair of eyes hidden under the cloak gazed at the magnificent sight on and off the stage as she thought, it's been so long since I saw such a gala. She was a little touched. Congratulations to our second-place contestant, Black Light Grandmaster Zhu Yangxiao, and our third-place contestant, Zhang Xiaoyu. Now, please come up to the platform, and our two hosts will present the awards to the Super Kings. Then, let's ask our champion a question. Mu Donglei walked up before the ceremony began. On behalf of the shop owner, we risk being rude and want to ask Rosenrain a question. What's on your mind right now? I'm elated. I didn't expect to encounter so many powerful opponents. I almost lost in some matches. Is it your first time entering such a competition, Rosenrain? I attended similar competitions, held in the faction. This woman had a smug smile on her face. I won the first place back then, but the competition wasn't as big as this one. Do you miss that time? Maybe. It was so long ago. Okay. Now, let's turn the microphone to contestant Zhu Yangxiao. Mu Donglei asked, Black Light Grandmaster, did you ever imagine that you would come this far? This young warrior looked a bit dull, totally different from the nimble player in the game. No. Before I came, I thought of only slashing down as many opponents as I could. Then, I slashed my way up to this place. Fang, F***ck. I didn't notice it, exclamations came from the audience. Mu Donglei asked, can you tell me why this is the case? Zhu Yangxiao said with a somewhat dull expression, I didn't have money to buy equipment back then. Besides, I had to move bricks and practice combat skills in the dojo every day. Therefore, I didn't have time to reach the top level. Although the competition doesn't allow the contestants to wear godly equipment above level 51, and thus not reaching the top level has little impact on your competition. But still, what's the top level? Carl, who sat beside Mr. Fang, asked in a low voice. Is it equivalent to the pinnacle stage in a certain level? Jessica exclaimed, does it mean that Zhu Yangxiao defeated opponents of higher levels? He's a respectable master. Kevin said. Then, what does moving bricks mean? Jessica asked in bafflement. TL note, moving bricks is a Chinese internet slang for doing work. It comes from the fact that most workers in construction moved bricks. It means cultivation. Mr. Fang's face twitched. Oh, then, let's congratulate these three contestants again. Mu Donglei turned around and said, please present the prizes to the top 3 players. Hey! Why didn't you interview me? Zhang Xiaoyu stomped her foot in anger. After Gu Tingyun won the champion in the StarCraft competition, the #1 worldwide Martial Dao conference finally came to an end. The Outlanders seemed reluctant to leave and were longing for more. The magnificent Star Wars, the exciting pinnacle battles. These people hadn't imagined that they would come here and witness such thrilling and exciting scenes and moments. They still remembered the unbelievable counter-strike of the King of Rangers, the astonishing slash of the Black Light Grandmaster, the Black Horse Rosenrain, and the stunning interstellar wars. These people had thought that these people were ignorant natives, but now. Jessica said, I somehow feel like something isn't right. Kevin replied, I have the same feeling. Carl questioned, are they really so strong? Their voices were restricted in a very small area and wouldn't be overheard by others. Jessica looked dubious. These battles were excellent, but we can't be fooled by them, right? Indeed, despite the fascination, her sharp intuition told her that many things were strange, and many places were doubtful. At this moment, they saw the ordinary person who was wearing sunglasses sipping iced red tea with enjoyment. A dangerous presence seemed to permeate the air. These outlanders were not morons. Although they had been stunned by the opening cinematics and the battles in the competitions, they felt like something wasn't right as they watched more as time passed. We are brave warriors of the godly palace, a cold sneer appeared on Jessica's face. We won't be fooled like this. Carl snickered. Beeb. At this moment, Mr. Fang heard a system prompt, new task, the path of esports, completed, task description, hold an official esports competition. StarCraft and Dungeon Fighter Online will launch the ladder tournament and division mode, and the top 64 are eligible to enter this competition. Task reward, game cultivation room, 3-day, godly weapon fragment, 1 piece, fortune competition gift box, can randomly draw multiple competition game items. Do you want to claim the rewards? Yes. Mr. Fang intently stared at the interface, wanting to see what he would get. Do you want to open fortune competition gift box? Mr. Fang was really excited. Yes. You obtained evil sword Apophyse, you got the right to summon Kala of Dark Flame. Plus 4% synchronization with game character Soul Reaper, first awakening of Soul Bender. You got the right to summon Ice Saya. Plus 3% synchronization with game character Soul Reaper. You got the right to summon Afterimage of Kiga. Plus 3% synchronization with game character Soul Reaper. You got. Before Fang Qi could see the rest, he shivered subconsciously. Nearby, Jessica's face turned even colder. These natives. We must have been fooled by these natives. Crack. Carl's face turned cold as well, and the wine cup in his hand was shattered by his fingers. Damn it, Jessica was about to say something when she heard a voice sounding by her. Have you forgotten to give me the treasures for losing the bet? The 3 people instantly turned their cold eyes toward him. This guy even dared to ask for the treasures from the bets? Doesn't he know how to write the word death? What? You guys want to slip away without honoring your bets? You. They were so furious that they were at a loss for words. Their faces almost became distorted under anger. Since you want them so much, come with me. With a snort, Jessica left the competition venue. Humph. Carl left as well. What's going on? I've got to go with you to get what I won. Mr. Fang scratched his head and followed. Soon, the 3 people led Mr. Fang out of Yuanyang City. They came into a remote pine forest on a cliff outside Yuanyang City. Clearly, they were some distance away from the city, and they could do anything they wanted without attracting undue attention. Shall we? Carl made a gesture by crossing his finger on his neck. It's not necessary. Jessica smiled seductively. I laughed so hard today that I could barely stand. This hadn't happened in a long time. I'm in a good mood today, so this little native is lucky that I will let him live. We can bring him back and train him. Ha 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 ha. Kevin said, right. I think we can first let this damn low-level native know our true identity. After all, they had felt so humiliated pretending to be people of the ultimate West Realm. They had been despised by many people, and this ordinary king warrior even dared to ignore them. At this moment, Fang Qi felt baffled and was about to ask them. Then, as if they had finished discussing, the 3 people turned around, and a wicked smile appeared on Jessica's face. Then, 2 golden spiritual patterns appeared on her forehead, looking mystical and mysterious. Jessica's aura suddenly changed as well. If she was like a beauty of the ultimate West Realm before, she was now a blonde snake beauty. Her slim fingers caressed Fang Qi face as she asked, "Do you know who we are?" Ha ha ha, these three people's presences suddenly rose, it felt like a huge mountain was standing before Fang Qi. With dazzling golden patterns shining on their foreheads, the three stood before Fang Qi like three holy existences. Mr. Fang's face froze. This? How come you guys are so f***ing powerful? Are you still the three natives of the ultimate West Realm who screamed at the matches beside me? Seeing Fang Qi's stunned expression, Jessica was very satisfied. Although I intend to let you live, we can't forgive you for making us feel so frustrated. We aren't planning to forgive you for your sins. You dared to fool us. Do you still dare to ask for the rewards of the bets? Jessica laughed hysterically with a small silver dagger in her hand. Should I call you ignorant or audacious? Do you know what's this in my hand? It's Kala, the blade of curses. Each slash, before she could finish, Mr. Fang suddenly took out a huge dark purple evil-looking sword. Evil sword apophies. The three people looked at the sword that Fang Qi took out from thin air in astonishment. This kid has hidden strength. The aura emitting from the sword grew stronger as if a seal was being slowly removed from a demon. Ha 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 ha. The Outlanders laughed hysterically while their auras grew higher. Does he think that he's the only one who has hidden strength? I'm afraid that this native still doesn't understand this situation, right? Carl snickered. Although they had all pretended to be pigs that could eat tigers. The three Outlanders sneered in their minds and thought, this person doesn't know that we are actually prehistoric beasts who are acting weak. In contrast, this young man in front of us is at most a wolf who is pretending to be a pig. This is hilarious. The silver blade of curses in Jessica's hand shined with a decaying, grey color, as if everything it touched would wither due to its power. The moment the dagger-like short saber was unsheathed, a tremendous amount of decaying energy appeared. As the death energy spread in the area, all the plants withered. Moving so fast as if she was teleportating, Jessica appeared behind Fang Qi silently in the blink of an eye. While placing the blade on Fang Qi's neck, she said, "Little brother, don't move. Otherwise, you'll end up like the plants in the area if my hand shakes a little." Jessica didn't open her mouth, but her voice somehow appeared in Fang Qi's mind. She didn't speak using the language of the spiritual state, but strangely, Fang Qi could clearly understand her. Such a dangerous weapon. Let me keep an eye on it for you. He, with a series of wicked and arrogant giggles, a sickly pale and slim finger reached out and touched the evil sword's handle. At this moment, Jessica sensed that a tremendous amount of horrifying negative emotions swept toward her like surging waves. What's this? Jessica quickly pulled back her hand as if she got electrocuted. Meanwhile, the Outlanders widened their eyes and looked before them since the ordinary-looking young man had disappeared. In his place was a gloomy, black-clothed young man with the evil sword in hand, surrounded by chilly and gloomy demons. He was a soul reaper. Fang Qi waved his left hand, and endless black shadows rotated around him like hurricanes after image of Kiga. Rebuild you soul and fight for me. Then, a skeleton hidden in the intense black mist spread out from behind Fang Qi like a huge black bone wing Kala of dark flame. The thick black mist that seemed to come from hell engulfed Fang Qi while pitch-black hell flames slowly appeared on the huge dark purple evil sword. Fang Qi waved his hand, and a dark red demon shadow floated in the air. This streak of dark red energy continued to increase the demonic power in Fang Qi body Kazan. On the Arad continent, some existences had more intelligence than humans and became gods. These creatures were called demons. According to legends, Kala had been a messenger of the death god, the most mysterious existence on Arad. Kala could summon the black hell fire on his body, and this fire could burn everything in the universe into nothingness. Later, it was summoned out by the great Zeeg in the name of the death god. As for Kazan, not much explanation was needed. The blood-colored demonic hand on all male slayers came from it. When the vague shadows of the demons were summoned out one after another, the horrifying presences overlapped, turning the whole mountain into a hellscape with gloomy winds and ghostly shadows appearing everywhere. The Outlanders were stunned as they looked at the horrifying scenes and demons, and they thought of something even more frightening. If one could control 2 demons, this person could open the seal and summon the legendary Ghost 7, Furious Blash. That was the truly terrifying existence. If these Outlanders hadn't watched the esports competition, they wouldn't have known the horrifying power of the masters who had awakened. But now, they had watched the competition for 2 whole days. At this moment, the young man who had summoned the demons said, "Ugh! You guys have hidden your strengths as well? I thought I was the only one doing it." The Outlanders felt like their minds had turned blank. "Before, you were only an ordinary king warrior, and we were warriors of the distant ultimate West Realm. We were both like sheep and got along well. However, while we were halfway through showing our identity as wolves to shock this ordinary person, you are telling us that you have hidden your strength as well? What's more, you pulled off your sheepskin and showed that you are a prehistoric monster. Are you, a soul reaper?" Carl yelled. He finally recognized this person. The ordinary person in front of them was a soul reaper who could summon horrifying demons. Impossible. Jessica thought that she was going crazy. To judge if a soul bender had awakened, the easiest way was to see if he were surrounded by a horrifying force, which was the passive skill, Fear of Darkness. Since these people felt the terrifying presence that existed around them, they knew that this man was indeed an awakened soul reaper instead of an ordinary soul bender. "Ah!" They screamed silently. "Impossible! How can you be a soul reaper?" These people felt like their worldview got flipped upside down. They had thought hard after finding things to be fishy and came to the conclusion that the masters in the esports competition were only powerful in a virtual world which looked extremely similar to the real world. That was why they were powerful. They thought that it was a small world in a relic from the ancient times. After all, the natives of this world couldn't have created such a thing. But now, the thing that they were certain was fake now stood in front of them. Also, this soul reaper was extremely powerful. These people even had this thought: are those other things that we deemed fake going to suddenly appear in front of us like this? We actually said that we want to show our identity in front of him and stun him, making him feel stupid? Damn! But now, we are the ones scared witless. While he spoke, Mr. Fang summoned Ice Saya and hazy-eyed Bremen, turning the whole space into a realm of ice. The ice sealed the ground and even froze the air. While the power of demons was summoned, 2 factors decided the strength of this power. One was the summoner's skill level, and the other was the empowerment coming from the equipment. For example, Evil Sword Apophis had great demonic power and could increase the strength of all the spiritual spells and sword techniques of a slayer by multiple folds. Besides, Alvin the ancient ring on Fang Qi finger was a powerful magic item as well. Right now, Fang Qi skills had reached the highest level that could be acquired through learning and training. Almost instantly, the Outlanders felt as if the whole world had been plunged into a hell of ice. Like ducks whose necks were clenched, they opened their mouths to scream but couldn't let out a sound. The scariest thing was that they felt as if something extremely horrifying was moving behind the space. Will he really summon Ghost 7, Furious Blash? Run! Run now! Mr. Fang was at a loss for words. If they fought with their full force and gave everything that they got, Fang Qi probably couldn't defeat them without summoning Ghost 7, Furious Blash. Since these 3 people were so afraid of Ghost 7, Furious Blash, that they thought was hidden in the darkness, they were distracted and exposed many weaknesses. In the ghost array, hellfire shot up. 10 seconds later, the 3 people lay on the ground, completely scorched. Satisfied, Mr. Fang put away the evil sword and gazed at them. I'm in a good mood today, so you 3 from the ultimate West Realm are lucky that I will let you live. From the looks of it, you guys are probably princes and princesses or sons and daughters of noble families. For the sake of Luo Piaoling and his people of the ultimate West Realm, I won't kill you. However, Fang Qi said after a moment of consideration, I'll need to bring you back to train you properly for being bold enough to try to beat me. Jessica's face turned green and thought, aren't those my lines? Also, what do you mean by people of the ultimate West Realm? We're... Oh. Right. We're people of the ultimate West Realm. With tears on their faces, they said nothing about Heaven Hiding Palace. Mr. Fang looked puzzled. I already know that you are from the ultimate West Realm. Why are you emphasizing it again? Since he was too lazy to dwell on this thought, Mr. Fang brought these captives back to his shop. At this moment, most of the players had just come into the shop after watching the competition. The contestants had also come down from the designated competition venue on the second floor. At this moment, they saw Mr. Fang coming back with 3 flying swords following him. On each sword was a person who got completely tied up. Curious, the customers all walked up and watched either with bowls of instant noodles or bottles of Coke in their hands. The outlanders who were tied onto the swords were embarrassed, and their faces turned dark purple. Ah! How could he treat us like this? They shivered in rage. Beep. Detected potentially dangerous bewitching spiritual seals in the new employees. Do you choose to erase the seals? Upon entering the shop, Mr. Fang heard a prompt from the system. Ugh! What are these things? Mr. Fang studied the captives with squinted eyes. In fact, he had noticed the unusualness and strangeness about these so-called people of the ultimate West Realm, but he didn't point it out. But, they actually have so-called spiritual seals inside their bodies? That doesn't sound like good things. Erase, Fang Qi said. Ah! With a series of screams, the 3 people dropped to the floor and went unconscious as if a lightning bolt had struck the depths of their minds. It's okay. Nothing to see here. Mr. Fang said in a loud voice, these hooligans dared to try to beat me, the shop owner. To compensate for the emotional damages they caused me, they will be working here and will probably be in charge of cleaning. So, they are the new employees that the shop owner recruited. Janitors. On the morning of the next day, Jessica woke up and found herself sleeping on a strange bed. Her burned clothes were replaced by a white pajama robe. Of course, Li Xiner helped her with the changing. She felt dizzy as if someone had hit her on the back of her head. While rubbing her groggy eyes, she walked to the mirror. She felt like something was missing. The 2 golden patterns on her forehead had disappeared. Ah! My spiritual patterns! Her face paled. Where are my patterns lines that I got with hard cultivation? Bang! 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 At this moment, a series of urgent knocking sounded from the door. It's late. Are you still sleeping? Get up and clean the shop. Jessica, here. Clean this spot. What's wrong with you? Don't you know how to clean? Carl. You sweep this spot. The shop must not have a single dust particle. The 3 glared at Mr. Fang with murderous spirit in their eyes. At this moment, Mr. Fang took out a dark purple evil sword from somewhere. I'll sweep that spot. I'll clean the windows. I'll... Hey! Wait for me. The 3 ran away to do the cleaning immediately. On this day, they began their new lives in the small shop in this place that they called the Land of the Natives. The janitor girl with long golden curls, wearing the employee uniform, and sweeping the floor with a broom was Jessica. The elegant, handsome, blonde young man cleaning the shop with a broom as well was janitor Kevin. I must escape. I'll escape tonight. The sullen young man who had mixed racial features and was cleaning was Carl. Of course, he didn't know that the shop closed during the night. He could never break open the door even if he tried for his entire life and the next. The sky above the heavenly abyss sea was as clear as sapphire stone after the cleansing of heavy rain. On the bright blue ocean, the wind pushed up the waves while dark lightning bolts occasionally flashed over them. That huge palace was still floating on the ocean surface all by itself. The huge crack had disappeared. This huge palace, that looked like an aircraft or a flying fortress, had completely come out of the crack. War Knight Legion is ready. Golden Mage Legion is ready. Mr. White-Robe Missionary, a subordinate kneeled on one knee. In the palace, a middle-aged subordinate who was wearing a pure white robe and a square hat looked into the distance with bafflement. Strange. The lords went to watch the esports competition. I wonder why they haven't sent back a single message after being gone for so long. The first 3 places of the StarCraft competition were Gu Tingyun, Li Haoran, and the Zika Spiritual Master. With a microphone in her hand, demonic woman Ning Bai said, "Guys, the thrilling moment is not over yet. Do you want to see what's inside the treasure chests that these top players have gotten? Yes. Quick. Open them now." At this moment, the woman who was wearing a black cloak carried an exquisite chest and a delicate parchment scroll engulfed in a series of mystical magic energy fluctuations. She also had an exquisite golden trophy engraved with the words, "Rose and Rain," the champion of the first F1 World Championship. She was quite excited, wondering what treasures were inside the treasure chest. Now, let's witness the opening of the treasure chests. How about that? Zhang Xiaoyu said eagerly, "I'll open it. I'll open it." While glancing at her palm-sized small treasure chest and then at the big one in Rose and Rain's hands, she mumbled in displeasure, "My chest is so small." When she opened the small treasure chest, a bag bigger than her head jumped out. Contestant Xiaoyu opened her treasure chest and got a bag of potato chips. Ning Bai declared. "Yeah." Zhang Xiaoyu almost jumped up in rage. "How come there is only a bag of potato chips? Let's congratulate contestant Xiaoyu." Zhang Xiaoyu felt like crying. She quickly dug her hand into the small chest, trying to see if there were anything else in it. There's one more thing." Suddenly, Zhang Xiaoyu exclaimed when she saw something glittering in the chest. It was a glittering card. Inheritance item trading token. You can use this token to trade for a real-life mimic of an inheritance level game item in Dungeon Fighter Online. This token is attached to the owner and can't be transferred to another person. This token expires in 30 days. Congratulations to contestant Xiaoyu for getting an inheritance item trading token. Can it trade for a real item? A mimic. Can it trade for an inheritance weapon? The venue erupted in excitement. Zhang Xiaoyu examined the card happily and almost hugged it. She was so happy. Let's see what great treasures are in Zhu Yangxiao's treasure chest. Ning Bai handed the microphone to the dull-looking young warrior and asked, "Zhu Yangxiao, do you have anything that you want to get?" "Well," the young warrior said, "everyone calls me Black Light Grand Master. But the truth is that I'm not a Grand Master and don't have the black light. I borrowed the black light for the competition and will have to return it after using." Kind chuckles sounded from the audience. "If possible, I hope to get a black light at the end of the day, even if it is only in the game," Zhu Yangxiao said. "Okay. Let's see what's in contestant Zhu Yangxiao's chest." The chest opened and revealed a small dark golden ring and a card. On it was a line of tiny words. "A man's fury can defeat a great army. This ring's power is greater than you think. Congratulations to Zhu Yangxiao for getting a bone ring and an inheritance item trading token. F***CK. My goodness! A real bone ring! Awesome! A blade master equipped with a bone ring is unrivaled." The audience members who were watching this looked at him with envy in their eyes. While carrying the chest, the contestant looked very emotional. While holding an advancement contract, he looked at the cheering audience and said, "A big thank you to the shop owner and everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you." From this moment on, this previously unknown civilian warrior would embark on a path that he had never dared to imagine. Then, our champion Rosenrain is next. Ning Bai said, "We have seen that she is the most powerful contestant and well deserves the honorable title of the champion. Let's see what prizes she will get." The chest opened and revealed a strangely shaped but exquisite necklace. "This is Soul Chaser. It's Soul Chaser!" Ning Bai exclaimed, "the most powerful epic level necklace. Soul Chaser can bring tremendous strength to the owner. And an inheritance item trading token that expires in 30 days. You can trade it for any item you want. Superb, wonderful." In the black cloak, the woman was exhilarated with this treasure chest in her arms. "With this necklace, my strength will increase by 20% without me doing anything." With her current strength, a tiny increase was terrifying to ordinary people, let alone 20%. The audience was stupefied. Such a powerful spiritual artifact. This necklace only exists in the legends, even in the game, right? I've never heard of it before, even in the game. The whole venue erupted into exclamations. The lively atmosphere and the enthusiasm of the audience members deeply affected the cultivators who had just come to know the shop and this competition. Sitting in the audience stand in a green robe and a bamboo hat, cultivator Han Yu clicked his tongue in exclamation, "I've traveled around the continent for many years but have never seen such a great event. Master, why are your eyes red?" Zhuge Yu looked at her master, Fairy Qing Yun, and was confused. "I'm thinking how fortunate our spiritual state is that we have a hermit master like Mr. Fang who stands out when the cultivation world is facing a catastrophe. Maybe the cultivation world of the spiritual state will survive this catastrophe. Everything is still in the air." Of course, she didn't know that a few outlanders would soon become janitors in Mr. Fang's shop. "Now, let's cheer for the top 3 contestants in the StarCraft World Series. I'll first interview the Zika spiritual master of the Nanhua faction about her thoughts at this moment." Ning Bai went over to the Zika spiritual master. "Fang got the legend of the white snake, of course. I want a carrier," Zika spiritual master said, "but I don't have high hopes for it. Let's see what's in the chest." Zika spiritual master opened her chest. The audience suddenly gasped. A golden aircraft appeared in the stage. Its golden color and streamlined shape showed its uniqueness. It's a shuttle. A flying spiritual artifact for aerospace transport of the Protoss faction. My goodness! I can't believe that I'm looking at a real Protoss spiritual artifact. Many people in the audience stood up and intently stared at this flying artifact, wishing that they could go up the stage and study it from close range. The Zika spiritual master gazed at the object that came out of her chest dumbfoundedly. Although it wasn't a carrier. "Ah! Master! You're awesome! What a fortune for our faction!" Mo Xian and other girls almost rushed up onto the stage. They hugged each other and cried in elation. After quickly putting the aircraft into her spatial spiritual artifact, the Zika spiritual master was so excited that her hands shivered. "Now, let's see what's in the chest of the second place." Impatient, Li Haoran opened the chest and saw a strangely shaped gun appearing before him. See? It was one of the weapons used by Ghost Agent Nova in StarCraft. It was a deadly sniper rifle and could fire many special ammunitions. It could even fire lockdown grenades which would temporarily paralyze the machines within its fire range, including the spacecraft of the Protoss. Likewise, lockdown grenades could also paralyze the spiritual artifact and flying machines made by cultivators. "I'm rich now." Now, only one person was left on the stage, and he was Gu Tingyun, the champion of the StarCraft competition. Obviously, this old man was excited. In his shaking hands was a big exquisite treasure chest. I've never seen such treasures before." Gu Tingyun said, "If we can completely study and understand these treasures, I think the cultivation worlds including the spiritual state and other continents will undergo a huge advancement." He opened the chest and saw another golden spiritual artifact in front of him. "Corsair! It's the Corsair fighter jet!" "Ha ha ha ha!" Gu Tingyun laughed heartily. "I can't believe that I got a Corsair fighter jet. Awesome! Vice Academy Master Zhang Hao's eyes widened. The other major families became green with envy. It's actually a Corsair fighter jet. It's also Protoss technology. This old guy is so lucky. They had the urge to rush onto the stage and grab this aircraft for themselves. Meanwhile, cheers erupted in the audience. Among the cheers and exclamations of many people, the competition finally came to an end. In Yuanyang City it was the morning of another day filled with hope. Mr. Fang was in a good mood when he saw the new janitors working diligently with proper attitudes. In fact, the other two shops had enough employees. However, since Yuanyang City was new, its cleaning duties had been done by Li Xiner and others who weren't in charge of it in the first place. But now, the Yuanyang City shop had a high-end janitor team, which was an advantage over the other shops. Different from the other employees in the shop, the members of the janitor team were forbidden to play games during working hours. As for their off time, the shop would be closed. Thus, they couldn't play games either. Therefore, they could do nothing but watch people play with brooms in their hands. Having just gotten online and started the game, Tang Yu sipped Coke with enjoyment. When he glanced back, he saw 3 people of the ultimate West Realm staring at his screen intently. Tang Yu didn't know what to say. He started the game while being speechless. I guessed right. These people are indeed playing in a strange world bordering between virtual reality and reality. The shop was quite clean to begin with. After the work was done, these outlanders whispered among themselves with brooms in their hands. Kevin said, "Let's watch some more. We might get more useful information." Standing behind Tang Yu, they watched as this mechanic fought the Abyss Demons. What's this? Abyss Demon? This monster is horrifying. These people can actually fight with Abyss Demons. On the screen, the sky was dark with gloomy clouds. Under the control of the demonic power of the demons, many horrifying thunderbolts crashed down from the sky. Meanwhile, Tang Yu set up a strange-looking machine. Suddenly, lightning bolts flashed and the spatial portal opened. Then, an extremely huge mechanical fist punched out from the spatial portal, instantly turning the Abyss Demon into ashes. This is Gabbled Punch. This young man can use this skill. Dazzling golden lights flashed on the screen, almost blinding the people who were staring at it. Ah! It flashed! It flashed and I got it! Ha ha ha! Tang Yu yelled while slapping his hands on his thighs. What treasure did you get again? Let me have a look. Many people walked up to stand around him. The Tang family master walked up as well with a bowl of instant noodles in his hands. Ah! Why don't we get a flash? The 2 black-robed figures also looked toward Tang Yu's epic item enviously. With a token that could trade for any item that they wanted, they intended to trade it for a good epic spiritual artifact. We've killed Abyss Demons for a whole day, and nothing came out. What is going on? They were eager to trade the token for an item since the token would expire in 30 days. At this moment, a golden flash appeared on the screen. It flashed. I have a flash too. The woman in the black robe screamed, I got a flash as well. Let's see what treasure came out this time. The idling people standing behind Tang Yu quickly swarmed behind her. Suddenly, a message appeared on the game interface on the screen, the internet connection is cut off. Your game time is up. Everyone fell silent. Ah! A series of tragic screams sounded from the shop. I haven't picked it up yet. The people in this shop all act in this way. The 3 outlanders' faces twitched. We were defeated by such people. Meanwhile, Mr. Fang started counting his gains. He had seen evil sword Apophis and the rights to summon all kinds of demons. However, he hadn't had the time to see many other things in the chest. He pulled the list out again. Right to sell potato chips, TV series Legend of the White Snake. Mr. Fang suddenly froze. TL note, The Legend of the White Snake, also known as Madam White Snake, is a Chinese legend. It has since been presented in a number of major Chinese operas, films, and television series. You can look up the plot by searching Legend of the White Snake in Wikipedia. Chapter 567 Do I look like someone who would bully Xiaoyu? Plus 1% synchronization with game character Wrecking Ball, First Awakening of Launchers. You got a weapon anti-tank cannon. Plus 2% synchronization with game character Wrecking Ball. You got a weapon charge laser rifle. Plus 3% synchronization with game character Wrecking Ball. You got a weapon ultimate armor penetration hand cannon. You got the weapon Skywalker. Skywalker was a blue lightsaber with a shape similar to the lightsaber shown in Star Wars. It looked like a light beam instead of the sword blade of a traditional lightsaber in Dungeon Fighter Online. It must be noted that Fang Qi couldn't use Evil Sword Apophyse while he wasn't in complete synchronization with the game character. Even though it didn't dare to mess around in the shop, it possessed so much demonic power and awareness that it wouldn't submit to any user weaker than itself. Synchronization time was very precious, and it needed a long time to recover after each usage. To consume less energy and extend the synchronization time, Fang Qi didn't summon Ghost 7, Furious Blash. However, not much synchronization time was left to use at this moment. Therefore, Fang Qi wouldn't waste this precious resource. But now, with Skywalker and the hand cannon, Fang Qi had new weapon options when he wasn't under complete synchronization. Meanwhile, outside Yuanyang City usually, it was impossible for so many people to gather outside the city. However, it was different today. At this moment, two pale golden flying spiritual artifacts with faint blinking spiritual energy shields were hovering in the sky outside Yuanyang City. Wow! It's so fast! This looks like a spiritual flying ship, but how come it's so fast? Awesome! Exclamations sounded from the cockpit. The girls of the Nanhua faction were curiously looking around in the shuttle. The shuttle wasn't hard to operate. In terms of flying, it wasn't too different from an ordinary flying spiritual artifact. Since these people could fly fighter jets in Grand Theft Auto 5, this aircraft wasn't too difficult for them to control. Of course, it wasn't so easy to make the fancy moves with the shuttle, it was on another level. Trash Junior Sister. You've driven it for a long time now. It's my turn. No. I'm not done yet. It's my turn. My turn. The Golden Flight spiritual artifact began to spin in the air. Ah! We're going to crash. Screams sounded from the cockpit. On the other side, the family masters and elders of the ancient families were visiting the Corsair fighter jet under the lead of Gu Tingyun. Guys, look at the interior of this spiritual artifact. Gu Tingyun said proudly, still amazed that he had the opportunity to drive such a spiritual ship. Wow! The interior of this flight ship looks like this. The King Kaihu family master looked around and touched this and that curiously. How was this thing made? I wonder why such an exquisite spiritual artifact is called Corsair. The Xian Yuan family master stroked his beard and said, it should be called the Golden Light Godly Ship. TL note, Corsair's nickname is Chinese as pirate ship. I didn't know that there were such exquisite spiritual artifacts in the world. The Tang family master patted his thigh in regret. I should have put more time in playing StarCraft. It would be great to get a shuttle for transportation even if he couldn't get a Corsair fighter jet. It probably would take them a long time to only study the thrust mechanism in the Protoss shuttle. Of course, they would obtain unimaginable benefits from the study. Ms. Yu. Come and look. The younger people of the King Kaihu family were also checking out the pirate ship. Different from spiritual artifacts, the cockpit of the Corsair was filled with rows of instruments. Gu Tingyun was fiddling with these things. Above the cliff outside Yuanyang City, a pale blue light appeared in the middle of the golden aircraft. With a flash, a super powerful force pierced the mountainside. So powerful! I can't believe that such a small spiritual ship can be so powerful. Hey! It's time for the families on board to get off. The Wang family master and the people of other families looked impatient. It's our turn to check out the spiritual boat. Master, Master! Do you think the imminent catastrophe of the spiritual state will really come? In the Yuanyang city shop, Fairy Qingyun and her disciple Zhu sat on the sofa. The former had a bowl of instant noodles in her hands while the latter was eating spicy sticks. Woo! Slurp! It should be soon. Fairy Qingyu was bewildered. She had been worried when she came down from Seven Saint Mountain, but now she was carefree enough to eat instant noodles in the shop. She said in confusion, "It's strange. According to these cultivators, those existences claimed that they will give us only 3 months. The time is almost up, how come nothing is happening yet?" She had lowered her guard because of this. It was so calm. Jessica passed them in silence with a garbage bag in her hand. There were a few empty Coke bottles in the bag. Green veins bulged on her forehead when she heard the conversation. Damn it! How can anything happen while we are here dumping garbage? You bunch of natives are so carefree that you have the leisure to eat instant noodles. If not for our difficult situation, you would have been destroyed long ago. At this thought, Jessica stomped her feet in fury. Forget it. At this moment, a special fragrance floated to her nose. Kevin brought 2 bowls of instant noodles and handed one to her. Would you like one? Feeling like crying, Jessica took the bowl, regretting that she had come to this damn place. Slurp! Slurp! The sounds of eating instant noodles appeared. Oblivious of the identity of the janitors in the shop, Fairy Qingyun continued to worry about the future of the cultivation world at spiritual state. Meanwhile, Carl thought with ill intentions, sooner or later, we'll leave this damn place. Unfortunately, our spiritual patterns were erased by this damn shop owner. With greatly reduced strength, we can't even send a message to the godly palace of light. Then, he also heard the slurping noises. How come this iced red tea is so delicious? And the instant noodles, What was I thinking earlier? Right, we can't get in contact with the godly palace. Boss! At this moment, Zhang Xiaoyu was about to go crazy. She had just dug out a bag of potato chips to eat with great smugness when she saw the words on the small blackboard. New item, potato chips, 8 crystals/bag boss. What is this? Zhang Xiaoyu gritted her teeth. She got a bag of potato chips as the prize for her hard-earned 3rd place and had to give half to Nalan Mingxiu, who taught her how to defeat her opponent. But now, the shop began selling potato chips. She had the urge to bite the damn shop owner to death. This, as his face twitched a little, Mr. Fang patted Zhang Xiaoyu's small head and looked at her before saying sincerely, "It's just a coincidence. Do you think I'm someone who would bully you?" Ugh! Then, Mr. Fang wrote something on the small blackboard with chalk. New TV series, Legend of the White Snake. We have a new TV series today. Mr. Fang changed the subject. I won't forgive you unless you let me watch for free. Zhang Xiaoyu snorted. Humph! They keep asking us to mail them iced red tea, Zhu mumbled. We should ask them to come here and grow vegetables. You must be respectful to your seniors. Fairy Qingyun said solemnly. Okay, don't talk about them, let's eat instant noodles first. Meanwhile, a group of players were standing around a strange machine, the disassembler. It had been solely used by Mr. Fang, but now he finally moved it out. While a group of cultivators and warriors studied the machine, they suddenly heard someone by the counter talk about the new TV series, and they all looked over with interest. At this moment, Gu Tingyun and the others walked into the shop. Having walked around and examined the Corsair fighter jet for a while, they discovered that they couldn't get anything out of it by studying only for a moment. Feeling helpless, they returned to the shop, wanting to first take full use of the 8 hours of online time today. Master! The shop has released a new TV series. Legend of the White Snake. Fairy Qingyun frowned and thought, how come it has this name? Is it a story about a snake? She walked over curiously. The janitors also came up with bowls of instant noodles in their hands. Just like other TV series, the customers could pay to watch the first 4 episodes on the first day. After 8 p.m., 2 episodes would be live-streamed on the big screens. Since TV series such as Jade Dynasty and Wind and Cloud had ended, many cultivators were out of things to watch, especially the lazy and idle ones. Su Tianji was one of these cultivators. Fight abyss demons? Why would a lazy cultivator like her fight abyss demons? For the last while, the first thing that she did after entering the shop on the daily was glancing at the small blackboard to see if there was anything new on it. Today, there was indeed something new on it. Potato chips. Legend of the White Snake. Master. Master. A new TV series. Her 2 disciples said cheerfully behind her. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I'll take you girls to watch the TV series. Su Tianji, who had looked spiritless, instantly perked up, intending to watch it regardless of what it was. At this moment, SIA and other people of the Ultimate West Realm walked in. SIA was in a fiery red dress, and she was still angry that she hadn't won a prize in the F1 World Championship. She spoke using the spiritual state language in her awkward accent. What are they talking about? Why is it so lively? They didn't watch Jade Dynasty and wasn't willing to watch Wind and Cloud. After all, if they started studying these things now, they would always lag behind others. Having just lost to cultivators of the spiritual state and deserted Sea Realm, these proud warriors wanted to find an area in which they could surpass others. After using up the fatigue points in Dungeon Fighter Online, they focused their energy on Final Fantasy and watched it time and time again to study the sword techniques in it. What's this strange thing? A few people of The Ultimate West Realm immediately looked over. Soon, they saw Jessica and other janitors who were standing by. Ugh! Are you guys from the Ultimate West Realm too? Carl and others' faces twitched. Yeah, you speak the spiritual state language so well. We grew up in the spiritual state. Jessica's face darkened. Of course. It's not difficult for us to learn a language. Then, the real and fake people of the Ultimate West Realm began a friendly conversation. We people of Ultimate West Realm must stick together. SIA said kindly, do you want to watch The Legend of the White Snake with us? I'll pay for you. The Outlanders cried and thought, how come there is such a good person? You mean these guys? Mr. Fang looked over and said, they are not allowed to go online during work hours. Ah! Jessica and her companions were angry, and their faces all turned green. They stared at Mr. Fang with murderous spirit in their eyes. We can stand behind them and watch. Carl said in a low voice, we'll know what Legend of the White Snake is. Good idea. SIA now had paid for the TV series. Activate the Legend of the White Snake for me. Then, she and the other people of Ultimate West Realm went online cheerfully. After opening Super Theater, she saw the logo of the Legend of the White Snake on the interface. Since the F1 World Championship had just ended, and the character in her main account had made a huge sword with Terra Stone, she wasn't impatient, entering the game as soon as possible. Instead, she could relax for a bit. Together with Luo Piaoling and other people of the Ultimate West Realm, they clicked open Legend of the White Snake to watch the TV series. Meanwhile, Su Tianji and her disciples had also opened the new TV series eagerly. Zhang Xiaoyu and Little Bell also hurried to the computers and began watching it. Jessica and other Outlanders rushed over eagerly to watch from behind, but they saw nothing but a poster on the screen. In the nation named Huaxia, where Fang Qi had lived before traveling through space and time, there were many beautiful legends about flying on swords and sword immortals who dashed into the netherworld. There were also mythical tales about mountain spirits turning into human forms. TL note, Huaxia is another word for China. Different from other movies and TV series which began with grand scenes, this TV series started with a story in a past lifetime. Legend of the White Snake began mildly with a small story in which a young boy who took care of cows saved a white snake from an old snake hunter. Bai Sohen, the white snake, made an oath that she would forever remember this favor and her savior. Is this TV series a story about this small snake? Curious, Su Tianji stared at the small white snake and wondered, will it cultivate for hundreds or thousands of years and become a big snake? Soon, it was 1,700 years later. How come this snake has grown so big? In the Yuanyang city shop, little Belle was so startled that it almost fell from its chair. In the misty valley where thunderbolts flashed, a white demon snake bigger than a dragon winded through the mountains. She turned from a small demon to the human form, and she went down the mountain and entered the mortal world. Seeing the world from the perspective of a demon, the people in this world felt very curious. Yay! Guys, look! She tamed a green snake! Zhang Xiaoyu exclaimed. Many viewers saw the battle between the white snake and the green snake, and they watched intently. From this point on, the TV series went on the main track and got a lot more interesting. In the misty drizzle on the day of Qingming festival, the white snake finally found the reincarnation of her savior from 1,700 years ago at the broken bridge on West Lake. Standing with an oil paper umbrella in her hand, Bai Sohen's white-clad figure stood in the misty drizzle on the bank of West Lake. With the beautiful scenery of West Lake as the background, this scene was permanently branded into the viewers' minds. At this moment, many cultivators and warriors wished that they could replace Su Xian, the reincarnation of the young boy. When the players played games such as The Legend of the Sword and Fairy and Dungeon Fighter Online, they would hear lovely music. Besides being melodious, the music in The Legend of the Sword and Fairy could even refresh their minds and calm their souls. At this moment, they looked puzzled. The TV series also has music. Then, they heard the lyrics of the song, West Lake is so beautiful in March. Spring drizzle is as sweet as wine, and the willow trees with new spouts look like mist. Ugh! What's this song? Ah! This episode ends here. Su Tianji exclaimed. How come this episode ended so soon? Then, they heard a series of tunes. While Su Tianji was worried that there were no more episodes, she suddenly saw short clips playing after the post-credits. They looked like the video clips shown at the opening cinematics of the esports competition. What are these? She quickly watched them intently. Zhu was also watching The Legend of the White Snake with Fairy Qingyun. I asked the shop owner about it, Fairy Qingyun said. He said that the exciting video clips at the beginning of the esport competition were the highlight montages. I'm surprised that the TV series Legend of the White Snake has them too. The cultivators were already interested in this story that was told in the perspective of a big demon who had cultivated more than 1,700 years and would soon become an immortal. After watching the clips showing the resurrection, the chilly black and white impermanents, heavenly generals and soldiers, and immortals and monsters, they were even more enthralled. Zhu widened her eyes and said, so powerful. TL note, black and white impermanents are two deities in Chinese folk religion in charge of escorting the spirits of the dead to the underworld. I wonder who wrote the lyrics, Fairy Qingyun said in surprise. Spring drizzle is as sweet as wine, and the willow trees with new spouts look like mist. The words perfectly reflect the beautiful scenery at West Lake in March. The system had recreated all the scenes and spiritual spells in Legend of the White Snake while following the original and classical plot of the story. Fang Qi was surprised that the system even included the ending theme song, and he found that it was quite good after hearing it. It wasn't awkward or cringy. After all, the lyrics and music were classics, and the system made them even more beautiful than the original version since everything that the system made was top tier. Listening to the song and watching the clips, the viewers felt as if they were sitting in the boat that was floating on West Lake. In the boat, the brisk male singing voice and the soft female singing voice drifted above the lake in a light drizzle. They seemed to be standing on the bank of West Lake and were watching the honest and dull scholar and the white-clothed woman who was holding an oil paper umbrella and had a charming smile on her face. Ugh! There's a song at the end. Su Tianji picked up a potato chip with her white and slender fingers, and she nibbled it very elegantly. She just bought one big bag. She continued watching the highlight montages. In fact, the old players were no strangers to these weird legends since they had encountered some in the Legend of the Sword and Fairy. For example, in the Legend of the Sword and Fairy 1, a mountain god told Zhao Ling'er the story about Nuwa patching up the sky. In this world, the memories and historical records about immortals and gods had been mostly lost in the long river of time. Only a few of them remained in the relics from the ancient times. It was why these warriors and cultivators were drawn toward things that existed in the legends. In these short video clips, they again encountered the fragments of legends that they had seen and heard in the Legend of the Sword and Fairy. For some reason, they felt moved inside. Eagerly, Su Tianji, Nalan Hongyu, and the others began watching the second episode. Bai Suhen's spiritual spells are so powerful. She can even see people's previous lives. The masters of the big families had just come down from the Corsair. Now, they all gathered together to watch the Legend of the White Snake. She can view what happened in a person's previous lifetimes. Her skills in spiritual spells are indeed great. This girl Little Qing likes to tease her big sister. Ugh! She is even playing tricks on Su Xian as well. So naughty. Zhang Xiaoyu was enjoying the TV series a lot as well. Little Qing, what do you think? Mu Qing was a little confused. Ugh! Watching the story of a big demon who would soon become an immortal after cultivating for almost 2,000 years, the cultivators were curious about her life in the mortal world. How can she live among the mortals? The Tang family master, Gu Tingyun, and the others looked astonished. A mortal married a big demon who had lived for almost 2,000 years. Such things can happen. At this moment, they wished that they could become a mortal who took care of cattle in the mountains. It wasn't unusual for the cultivators to have over 2,000 years of cultivation strength. After all, Han Yu, the low-profiled independent cultivator, had cultivated more than 2,000 years. However, comparisons between people induces anger and envy. The white snake in this story could soon become an immortal after cultivating for only about 2,000 years. For the cultivators and warriors in this world, there wasn't a clear definition and standard for immortals. In their mind, once a cultivator became an immortal, they could leave this world and ascend into another world. However, even though the high-level cultivators of the Shu Mountain faction in the Legend of the Sword and Fairy could travel to other realms, they were still not immortals. For example, Jing Tian in the Legend of the Sword and Fairy 3 even traveled to the immortal realm, but he wasn't an immortal. For the cultivators, immortals were just people who had reached the high realm that ordinary cultivators could never attain. Likewise, the mortals also regarded cultivators as immortals. Even though this woman in Legend of the White Snake easily used the spiritual spells that could summon wind and rain and move mountains to fill oceans, she was still outside the gate of the world of immortals. Now, the cultivators began to have a deeper understanding of immortals. The spiritual spells and cultivation methods shown in the TV series in glimpses were quite beneficial to some of them. For example, the big white deer kept looking at the screen. In this scene, the white snake changed into her human form. Why doesn't it show the whole process to us? That's infuriating. They followed the white snake down the mountain and watched the many interesting incidents between Su Xian, the scholar, and Bai Suhen, the big snake who had lived for close to 2,000 years. The viewers were entertained. Soon, they came to the part in which Bai Suhen told Little Qing to steal silver from Qiantang Vault so that Su Xian could have enough funds to open a pharmacy. It's a piece of cake for a demon snake who has hundreds of years of cultivation strength to steal money from mortals. Despite the fun they had while watching this incident, SIA and some other people of the Ultimate West Realm thought that it was a task too easy for them. I suddenly feel like it isn't as interesting anymore, Nalan Hongyu also thought that the two big demons could easily get whatever they wanted in the mortal world. It looks too easy and relaxed. The Tang family master shook his head, losing interest when he saw little Qing moving silver from the vault with some small ghosts. While they were hesitating if the TV series was worthy of their time, they saw Li Gongpu complain to the vault god in the picture that was hung on the window, "My lord, you must do something." Suddenly, the picture flew out and transformed into the vault god. With a golden whip in his hand, he blocked little Qing with heavenly soldiers. Oh! The people of the ultimate West Realm who had felt a bit bored almost jumped up. The Tang family master who had been hesitating if he should continue watching opened his mouth wide and gasped, "What's this?" These people in this world were shocked and all froze. At this moment, a brand new world unraveled before them like a grand picture, revealing the tip of an iceberg. In this world, there were immortals and demons, and the human world was governed by gods. Working as janitors in the shop, Jessica and her companions were eager to watch this TV series. What is this legend of the White Snake? It seems like they are all enthralled by it. Having just finished the first 4 episodes, SIA put down the virtual reality headset and then sang poorly in a heavy accent, "West Lake is so beautiful in March, spring drizzle is as sweet as wine, and the willow trees with new spouts look like mist." The Tang family master sitting near her continued where she left off. "If we are destined, we will meet even if we are 1,000 kilometers apart." Fairy Qing Yun sang with high spirits, thinking it was also fate that brought together the cultivators and warriors from different places. After all, they wouldn't have met each other all their lives if not for the shop since they lived extremely far from each other. What's wrong with the people in this internet cafe? Hearing the singing in the shop, Jessica, Kevin, and Carl were bewildered with brooms in hand. What's wrong with these people? They were all watching the TV series, but now they are having a singing competition? Hearing their cheerful voices, the three's faces twitched as they thought, "How come you are all so happy? Are you even worried about us the invaders?" No. The three realized that they were now janitors. Furious at their situation, Jessica grabbed a handful of potato chips and stuffed them into her mouth while cussing silently in resentment, "I can handle 100 natives at the level of these people. No. Without spiritual patterns, I can only handle about 10. At this moment, someone yelled, "The garbage bins are almost full. Where are the janitors?" "I'm here." Jessica answered without thinking. "Go. Go. Go. Hurry up." She was furious, wishing that she could kill the shop owner. At 8 p.m., the first 2 episodes of Legend of the White Snake were played on the big screens. In the Zhuhua City shop, the nearby civilians, rich and poor, had the habit of gathering in the shop to watch 2 free episodes of TV series each day on the live stream. The moon had just come up. Gong Zixiao sat down on the couch and poured himself a cup of wine that he bought from Wind and Moon Pavilion, enjoying the new TV series. Meanwhile, the janitors in Yuanyang City shop each poured themselves a cup of iced red tea with tears on their faces. "Finally, we can watch it, finally, we can watch it, oh! There are actually gods in this world. This Guanyin looks very powerful, a mortal can summon the vault god with a casual yell? How come there are so many gods and immortals in this world?" 2 hours later from the couch, Jessica sang, "West Lake is so beautiful." The customers walking by looked at them with weird expressions. "Master, will catastrophe strike our spiritual state or not?" Zhu asked as she sat on the couch and watched the Legend of the White Snake one more time. "Of course, it will." Sitting nearby, Carl said with a snort. "How do you know?" The young girl looked at him in doubt. With his face twitching, Carl finally explained after a long pause, "In the vast void, weak existences are always easy targets for predators, which is the cause of almost all wars." Before Fang Qi traveled through space and time, he had heard someone say, "The universe is a dark forest, and each civilization is a hunter with guns." They walked in the forest stealthily like ghosts and lightly moved away the tree branches that blocked their way, trying their best not to make any sounds. The forest is full of hunters just like them. If they find another civilization, they will do only one thing: burn and destroy it. Mr. Fang came over and sat down. While scratching his head, he said, "Why have wars? Isn't it better to have an esports competition?" The Outlanders' faces twitched, and they didn't feel like talking to Mr. Fang. If they could defeat this guy, they would bring him back and whip him 100 times with force. Having finally finished the task of esports competition and other chores in the shop, Mr. Fang had just come out of the game cultivation room. At this moment, Fang Qi dug out a pretty golden rock from his pocket. He finally remembered that this was one of the 3 things that he won from Jessica when they bet against each other. The other 2 objects that he had won were the shadow cloak and the blade of curse. Fang Qi remembered the system telling him that this rock contained tremendous energy when Jessica took it out. In fact, the system took most of the income of the shop so that it could have enough energy to produce and maintain the big worlds shown in the games and movies. It also needed energy to maintain the foundation of the lightning punishment system in the shop. In fact, to finish the tasks, Mr. Fang had spent lots of his money. Also, he used a lot of money when playing Dungeon Fighter Online. Right now, he found that he was a little poor. Should I sell this rock? The system is taking it in, analyzing the energy. Hey! Dumbfounded, Mr. Fang watched as the rock vanished just like the crystals that the shop had earned. How come it's gone? System. F***ck. Spit it out for me. You stole my treasure. Are you a dog? F***ck. If you don't spit it out right now, I'll stop working. The system replied. Burp. Mr. Fang's face darkened. Damn you! I've never seen a system as shameless as you. At this moment, Fang Qi heard the system's voice again. The system energy is prepared. New privileges are being activated. Cross-plane teleportation is getting ready. The new task is activated. New task, cross-plane internet task description. Do you want to build a unique internet system? Young man, get up and move. Mr. Fang replied, No. I don't want to go anywhere. The young man had lost his dreams. The system was at a loss for words. Chapter 571 is the world round or square? Just like what Mr. Fang had said, they were in fact living on the planets. Although Mr. Fang stated it as a fact with his life experience and knowledge that he obtained before he traveled through space and time, no one in this world believed him. This argument was paused since Mr. Fang was busy with the release of Dungeon Fighter Online and the organization of the esports competition. Now that these tasks were finished, the system's words reminded him of the previous debate. Mr. Fang scratched his head and wondered, right? What does this world look like? The group chat that people created in QQ to talk about if the world was round or square at this moment, the group members had completely deviated from the original theme. And Huey said, Screenshot, today, I only got 2 epic equipment after spending a whole day killing abyss demons. They are both garbage. What an unlucky day. Nalan Hungwu said, a screenshot of a dazzling golden lightsaber, ha 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 ha. Look at my light flame sword blazing sun judgment plus 11. Xianyuan Chongqing, an elder of the Xianyuan family replied, a screenshot of the champion of the F1 Dungeon Fighter Online competition losing her mind when she got an epic equipment but the internet connection was cut off taken by a communication jade. In the new year, I wish you to have your internet disconnected, fail in every equipment reinforcement, damage in all your equipment, have a lack of colorless small crystals, and hit your daily online time quickly, Elder Yu of the Heavenly Academy replied. Nalan Hungwu's face darkened. Su Tianji said, have you guys watched The Legend of the White Snake today? Mr. Fang chimed in, can you guys talk about the theme topic? Su Tianji asked, what's the theme topic? Exasperated, Mr. Fang replied quickly, look at the name of the group. This is an official group for science and technology discussion. The members looked at the group name earnestly. Is bean curd sweet or salty? Mr. Fang was speechless. Pu. Who changed the damn name? He immediately changed it back to, is the world round or square? The student who was on the work-study program, Li Lanruo, asked, Sir, how come you came up with this question? Mr. Fang replied, Are you not a bit curious about the mystery of the world? Zhongwu replied, I haven't finished killing all the abyss demons yet. Su Tianji said, a screenshot of when the ending theme song of Legend of the White Snake played. Sir, will you release 4 episodes tomorrow? Green veins bulged on Mr. Fang's forehead. You guys are too lazy. Don't you have any curiosity for knowledge? Su Tianji said, Sir, after you find the answer, don't forget to tell us. They were indeed a group of lazy people who would do nothing but yell awesome and play online. Gu Tingyun suddenly said, in my opinion, to find the answer to this question with our current level of spiritual spells and science knowledge, we must spend a long time to explore, or our answer will be superficial. Now that we have the Corsair of the Protoss, we might have a chance to try. Mr. Fang said, finally, we have a wise person among us. While stroking his beard, Gu Tingyun typed the words smugly. The ancient scroll that we acquired from the Sky Relic says that all the people who ascended to heaven went in the direction of the Heavenly Abyss Sea. Heavenly Abyss Sea. Rosenrain suddenly typed. Tang Yu chimed in, F***CK. You drew out the champion. The 3 janitors who had been sneaking glances at Mr. Fang's screen from the behind exchanged a look. What are these natives up to? They had a feeling that these natives wanted to do something big. At this moment, Jessica suddenly saw the spiritual artifact attached to her belt blink. She immediately walked out the door. The Grand Heaven Hiding Palace was still hovering in the sky above Heavenly Abyss Sea. At this moment, the white-robed man was holding a strange crystal which showed the image outside the door of Origin's Internet Club. My lords, I finally got in contact with you. The white-robed man looked pleased, and then he saw the janitor uniforms that they were wearing. My lords, why are you wearing native clothes of these natives? The 3 people's faces twitched at the question. Carl quickly said in a cold voice, Stop babbling. Is it your place to think for us? The white-robed man quickly bowed and replied, I was worried in the past few days since you didn't send any messages to us. We're fine, Blonde Kevin said. We encountered a small problem and will soon solve it. Besides, these natives are not as weak as we thought, you must be careful. Jessica said, we are gathering information about these natives. We've reached a critical stage, and you can't disturb us. Yes. My lords. The white-robed man bowed even lower. Another thing, Carl instructed, in a few days, these natives might send a powerful team to the area that you are in. You guys should first hide and not show yourself. We found that there are some very powerful masters among these natives, and you might not be their match. There are such powerful masters among the natives. The white-robed man looked surprised as he said, even you can't handle them, my lords. Their faces twitched. After exchanging a look with the other 2, Carl laughed and said, how can they be our match? Kevin said immediately, he just escaped from us. At this moment, Gabriel and a few other people of the Ultimate West Realm walked out of the door, humming the song from Legend of the White Snake to themselves. I just heard the shop owner call for you to dump the garbage, so I came to give you a heads up since I didn't see you in there. Go in now, otherwise, he will lose his temper. With that said, Gabriel and his companions walked toward their hotel. We are from the same place, and we should look after each other. You don't need to thank me. Hurry. Turn it off. Carl and the other 2 outlanders scrambled to run into the shop without turning off the communication. Damn it! The white-robed man in the Heaven Hiding Palace saw them run, and then the screen in front of him turned black. He exchanged a look with the servants around him. What had just happened? Meanwhile, Mr. Fang's technology discussion had come to an end. Mr. Fang's global travel plan was the first to be vetoed due to the inaccessibility of some extreme realm. Even if they could pass these areas, it would cost them lots of energy and time. Therefore, they came up with another plan, spiritual ship ascendance plan. They could use the great abilities of the Protoss Corsair to follow the ascendance path of the ancient times, just like the ships flying into space in the game. If they could fly into the starry sky, they certainly could see if the whole continent were round or square. They would find out if their living place was indeed a planet as Mr. Fang had claimed. How come it looks like this? She had come here to do something for the cultivation world, but after waiting for a long time, nothing had happened. As for the brave fighters, Rosenrain had launched her live shows, Zhu Yangxiao had established a studio for moving bricks, and as for Xiaoyu, Zhang Xiaoyu was eating her potato chips while hiding in a corner so that the despicable shop owner couldn't take them from her. The damn invaders are nowhere to be seen, and the fighters are getting idle. While feeling sad and helpless, Fairy Qingyun began to watch the new TV series. She even suspected that she had made a mistake in her calculations and that the catastrophe wouldn't strike the spiritual state after all. "Are you guys coming or not?" Fairy Qingyun murmured to herself while watching the TV series. "We are here already," Jessica mumbled through her gritted teeth behind Fairy Qingyun. This feeling was quite weird. For the researchers who were artifact master and mechanism masters of the grand factions, they would never stop their exploration of the unknown world regardless if the catastrophe struck the world or not. What were the secrets about the immortal Dao in the ancient times? Which of the worlds shown in the games and TV series were real or closer to their own world? Perhaps their world was just a simulation, just like the one shown in the Matrix. They had perceived more possible explanations for the world, and these new thoughts improved their way of thinking. People in this world said that no one could pass the Sky Mountain of the ultimate West Realm. What lay beyond the Sky Mountain? The ancient legend said that the people in pursuit of Dao all went to Heavenly Abyss Sea. What secrets were hidden in that forbidden area which was fraught with danger? Why couldn't they ascend to heaven from their own factions? Welcome to this episode of Approaching Science. I'm Li Haoran. At this moment, the big screens in the shops were showing a weird-shaped golden battle jet flying toward the Heavenly Abyss Sea at great speed. On the bottom right corner was Li Haoran's livestream studio. This is the livestream sent back by Mr. Fang. In this livestream, we'll explore the mysteries of the world in a scientific way. Now, let's ask Mr. Fang why he has a sudden interest in this question. Naturally, Mr. Fang wouldn't tell them that he had just gotten a task to open another branch shop, which was why he intended to explore another place. After all, as the shop owner, he couldn't spend all his time playing games like these lazy people. At this moment, Jessica, Carl, and Kevin were sitting on a couch. In one corner, two black-clothed figures were also solemnly watching Approaching Science, which was hosted by Mr. Fang. Heavenly Abyss Sea isn't a peaceful place. The two figures hiding in the corner whispered to each other. With these people piloting a Corsair battle jet, they will soon return in defeat after a few moments. Ah! How come this kid went to the Heavenly Abyss Sea? The godly swords hung at the entrance yelled. Seniors, do you know the secrets of Heavenly Abyss Sea? Some disciples of the King Kaihu family noticed that these swords seemed to know something about this sea, so they immediately cupped their hands and asked the swords. Little girls, you asked the right people. Seeing many people looking toward it, the godly sword named Qingming said arrogantly, weird winds sweep across Heavenly Abyss Sea frequently. In one moment the sky is clear, and in the next moment, vicious and huge waves might surge up toward you. In one moment, the ocean is peaceful, and in the next, a sea monster might leap out and attack you. They are so powerful that they can swallow a cultivator like you guys whole, the godly sword named Qingshuang said. Meanwhile, on the Heavenly Abyss Sea, sir. A few servants kneeled before the white-robed man and reported, to hide our whereabouts, we've cleared all the nearby sea monsters, No stupid sea monsters will come to us during the concealment. Okay, very good. Inside the shop there's more. The Black Sword said, huge and pitch black holes will appear at the bottom of the sea, sucking huge amounts of water inside as if huge dragons were sucking water at the sea bottom. If you get close to them, it's extremely dangerous. It's so dangerous. Then, the shop owner and others are in mortal danger, right? The girls looked pale. In the palace hovering in the sky above heavenly abyss sea, sir, we've resolved the issue of sea holes created by the spatial shards. They won't have any impact on us. Good. Good. We must do the work that Karl and the other lords assigned to us. We can't allow those natives to notice our existence. Yes. Then, why don't we leave this place to avoid these natives? Or we can go to the place where Jessica and the other lords are staying. As for that, the white-robed man said, the lords don't want us to go there, I'm sure they have good reasons for that. In the Yuanyang city shop the godly swords continued, there are more dangers than those. Horrifying black lightning bolts strike that area constantly. Ordinary cultivator would be turned into ashes if they were struck. What lightning bolts are these? How come they are so powerful? It's said that the ancient cultivators passed their tribulations in that place, and these lightning bolts are called heavenly tribulation godly lightning. Ah! So powerful! More and more people gathered around the swords, and their faces paled as they yelled, hurry and tell the shop owner to come back. That place is too dangerous. In the sky above heavenly abyss sea, sir, the nearby sea area is peacefully under the control of our holy artifact heaven hiding palace, and I'm sure that it wouldn't trigger any void tribulation lightning. But the space around the border of realms is still a bit vulnerable. In the Yuanyang city shop, according to the legends, that place is the origin of heavenly Dao and the birthplace of Hundun. TL note, Hundun means primordial and central chaos in Chinese cosmogony. Actually, it is this amazing. Is it the legendary Holy Land? The people around the godly swords clucked their tongues in amazement. In the sky above heavenly abyss sea. Okay. Now, no one will see that we're hiding here. The white-robed man waved his hand impatiently while mumbling to himself, I hope that the heavenly Dao of this world won't slack off and fall apart. What is going on? The energy stored in this holy artifact might run out, sir. The crack that we traveled through to jump between, they are coming. Some people are coming, we have no time to repair it now. Keep hiding. At this moment, the super expedition team consisting of Mr. Fang, Gu Tingyun, Zhong Wu, and other cultivators and warriors of the spiritual state finally arrived at Heavenly Abyss Sea. Above the Heavenly Abyss Sea, the endless blue sky was dotted with white clouds. Occasionally, some white birds flew across the ocean. The blue ocean had gentle ripples on its surface. Please watch the visuals sent back by Mr. Fang. Li Haoran, the host of Approaching Science, said at this moment. The blue sky and cyan ocean are so pretty. Is this really the legendary Forbidden Zone? Oh! Is this the so-called Heavenly Abyss Sea? The audience was surprised. The godly swords who had been busy describing the dangers in Heavenly Abyss Sea scratched their heads. Ugh! How come it looks like this? This ocean doesn't look any different from any other sea, Mu Qing murmured while gazing at the big screen in puzzlement. Little girl, don't let the peaceful appearance of the Heavenly Abyss Sea fool you. The two black-robed figures who seldomly spoke snorted. In a little while, black winds might come up and put all these people in danger. Really? Zhang Xiaoyu munched on potato chips while watching the live stream. After she finished half a bag of the potato chips, she asked, where are the black wines? They will come later. Then, she finished the remaining potato chips in the bag. Glancing at the peaceful ocean, Mr. Fang asked, you mean, the ancient immortals all ascended from this place? Gu Tingyun said, according to the records in the ancient scrolls, they seem to have all came here without exception. Mr. Fang looked out of the window in bewilderment and asked, shall we fly up and have a look? This approaching science is boring. The heavenly abyss sea is just like an ordinary sea, Mu Qing said, but the legends make it sound so unusual and fascinating. Many years has passed, and many things can change in such a long time. Maybe the dangers have disappeared long ago. Instead of finding extreme dangers in the heavenly abyss sea, they found that it was peaceful and quiet. With their anxiety gone, they were in a good mood. Academy Master Gu, who sat in the cockpit, began to hum to himself. West Lake is so beautiful in March. Mr. Fang was still talking on the side. Guys, do you think we can fly to a planet if we keep going? Look! The mist is up. The wind is up. Someone suddenly yelled in the shop. Sir, look at that! These natives, where are they going? At this moment, Jessica and her companions, who had been drowsy while sitting on a couch, suddenly jumped up. These guys! They just flew out like this. In the mist, they seemed to see black lightning bolts piercing the void. They couldn't see the sun or the stars. It seemed like they traveled in a vortex tunnel. Where's this place? Pilot! Where's Academy Master Gu? I don't know where we are. Oh! The instruments all seem to have issues. An unknown magnetic field is detected. Are we beginning the tribulation? We're finished. Forcing to pass the tribulation without enough cultivation strength, I'll be burned by the lightning. The audience in the shop exclaimed in alarm as well. Bedlam broke out in the shop and in the jet. Jessica and her companions slammed their hands on their foreheads. The two black-robed figures exchanged a look. After traveling through a long tunnel, the jet passed through the dark void. Ugh! Where is this place? The scene before them turned from an ocean to the sky above a giant, endless forest. It seemed that they had come to another world. This was a world totally different from their home world. Everyone stared at the scene before them dumbfoundedly. Then, they glanced at Mr. Fang. Dumbfounded, Mr. Fang pointed at the scene before him and yelled, "This is not scientific! Where is the starry sky? Where are the cosmos and the universe? No! I was doing a live stream. How come we are suddenly in this place after flying up? How can I continue this live stream? Is this the upper realm? The immortal realm?" Li Haoran said, "Welcome to this episode of Approaching Science. As we can see, our Mr. Fang seems to have encountered a small problem and feels like this isn't scientific. I don't think it's scientific either." In the Zhuhua City shop, Su Tianji stuffed a potato chip into her mouth and joined the fun. Does it mean that they passed the tribulation just like that? Zhang Xiaoyu chimed in, "Isn't this show called Approaching Science?" Jessica and her companions still had their hands on their foreheads. The two black-robed figures exchanged a baffled look. Mr. Fang's live show Approaching Science continued. "Where are we now?" Gu Tingyun looked back at Mr. Fang in bewilderment. Mr. Fang looked at him dazedly, thinking, "How can I know? This world of yours is different from the world that I lived in before I traveled through space and time. While flying with the sword control technique, I can't go up further after reaching a certain height. But in the sky above heavenly abyss sea, we flew to this place after flying up for only a short while? Did I travel through space and time again? This time, I had traveled through space and time with people of another world and even the aircraft? This is really not scientific." Wishing to stop the live stream of Approaching Science, Mr. Fang tried to explain with embarrassment on his face, we might have touched some trigger and were sent to another place. My theory has a scientific foundation, there is no need to doubt me. According to... I think this might be, Mr. Fang froze as he said that, feeling like it was impossible to explain this situation. At this moment, Gu Tingyun said, "I think this place might be a small world. In other words, we might have stumbled through a portal and came to this place by accident." Right. 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 I think Academy Gu's theory makes sense. Mr. Fang agreed immediately. In today's Approaching Science, we will take you to explore the secrets of this place. Jessica looked contemptuous. Your native world is a small world, all right? How can you guys call our world a small world? How did they go over? It's said that their Corsair battle jet is very powerful and can even detect magnetic fields. I wonder. Look at the sky. SIA exclaimed at this moment. Without thinking, Mr. Fang adjusted the camera angle so that everyone could see the world better. Sure enough, there were two suns in the sky. One was overhead while the other was setting. There are two solar systems. Mr. Fang was totally confused. This doesn't make sense. What is wrong with this world? Interesting. Luo Piaoling frowned. He turned around and saw Elder Andrew looking over as well. What did you find? Luo Piaoling nodded and said, it looks like the picture engraved on the ancient holy item in our family. I thought it depicted a rare phenomenon in the sky. How come, sir, the energy shield of the Corsair is losing lots of energy? On the other side, Gu Tingyun reported to Fang Qi. Mr. Fang said after a moment of pause. Today's approaching science ends here. See you all in the next episode. I think I like the lame version, Xiaoyu murmured to herself. At this moment, even Jessica thought that they could capture this lame shop owner and tie him down before taking him back to avenge themselves. However, when she thought about it, she shivered subconsciously. Damn it! We had made the mistake by mistaking him for a lame guy, trying to shock him. In the end, we ended up as his janitors. She began to suspect that this kid knew some things and just kept them a secret. It's natural to fail once or twice if you live stream constantly. Seeing the gazes from Gu Tingyun and others, Mr. Fang remained cool as if it wasn't a big deal. At this moment, Mr. Fang saw his communication jade which was attached on his belt blink. As for why Mr. Fang could still receive messages in this place. Since he could even live stream from here, it meant that Mr. Fang always had signal with him. As long as the other side also used the new communication jades, they could send messages to him through the network in the shop. Admit it. You knew our identities since long ago, right? Looking at the message from this strange ID, Mr. Fang hesitated and asked, Jessica. In the shop, Jessica felt as if she were struck, and her vision darkened. I knew it. She hadn't told him her name, but this kid had guessed that the message was from her. What are you up to? Jessica quickly sent a message to ask him. Mr. Fang answered, I'm just a shop owner, what do you think I can do? Maybe I can open a branch shop here so people can play games together, pu. Jessica almost spewed out blood. We are enemies. Enemies? Aren't you afraid of being killed? Then, what's your mission? Fang Qi asked, I don't think our destruction will bring you anything good. Even if you want to take things from this place, you don't have to destroy everything. I can't tell you. Jessica's words oozed with the pride that was instilled in her bloodline. You natives of the lower plains would never understand. Colonization? Fang Qi asked in surprise, suppression or slavery? Or, the pure urge to destroy people different from you? Jessica looked a bit surprised, finding that this native seemed to know more than she had imagined. Your way of thinking is very dangerous, Mr. Fang said earnestly. The powerful preys on the weak, it's the survival of the fittest. Besides, don't think that the fantasy worlds in your shop are so grand. In fact, we have had such things long ago. Jessica added, the true fantasy worlds can recreate the past relics and even planes which truly existed. They are like cultivation towers and wouldn't make people fall back in terms of cultivation, unlike the fantasy worlds here which are fake to awe people. Hearing her words, Fang Qi was a bit startled, and he thought, there are such awesome stuff in this world? Humph! Besides, your so-called live stream isn't something new, Jessica said. Many powerful fighters can cast visuals with spiritual spells when they enter these fantasy worlds. As for the battles among powerful fighters, hundreds of thousands of people can watch them through this spell. The weaker ones don't even have the right to watch. It's why we are so powerful. If she hadn't been so arrogant, this scummy shop owner would have begged for her mercy long ago. Mr. Fang widened his eyes. These people in this world can live stream too. How long have you been doing this? He asked immediately. Much longer than you guys, Jessica said with a snicker. It has a long history of development. After all, fantasy worlds were not something that people could create in a short time. But now, it's getting more popular by the day. While she said it, Jessica sat straighter subconsciously. After all, they were people from a higher plane, and these natives were inferior to them in every aspect. To make sure, Mr. Fang asked again, do you really have such fantasy words? And many people watch them? If I want to watch them, which direction should I go? Where are you now? Jessica was pleased with Mr. Fang's interest, hoping to stun and awe this damn native with powerful masters and the live stream industry which they took great pride in. No. Their live stream was called Spiritual Spell Visual Projection. Spiritual spells and scientific technology were different, but they could achieve similar results in many areas. Through spiritual spells and spiritual artifacts, some grandmasters could create some special cultivation spaces. Even the cultivators of spiritual state could create fantasy worlds. The people in the upper realm who were in a more advanced civilization could certainly do better in this area. These fantasy worlds wouldn't trap people or do harm to anyone. Instead, they would bring great benefits to people. These people used the spiritual spell visual projection to achieve the effects of live stream, while some grandmasters combined forces to create large-scale fantasy worlds. This method was now very mature in this world. According to Jessica's introduction, this continent had a large number of spellcasters, which, in Fang Qi mind, were like cultivators in the cultivation civilizations. There were many cultivators and warriors from the east and the west of the continent, and many grandmasters had been live streaming. Mr. Fang thought, Hiss. This city is so prosperous and bustling. Achoo. Walking on the streets of the city, Fang Qi sneezed and looked around with great interest. The people here mostly looked like the Westerners back on Earth, before he traveled through space and time, but there were also Oriental people with black hair and dark eyes walking swiftly on the street in cloaks. Fang Qi was astonished to see that there were all kinds of non-humans, and some of them had human bodies and beast heads. This city was very grand and was even bigger than Yuanyang City. In the city were buildings with white walls and red tiles. Clean water sprayed out from the fountain in the huge round flower bed surrounded by the meticulously pruned green hedges. The pure white stone benches on both sides of the street were spotless. However, not everyone they saw was more powerful than the grandmasters such as Gu Tingyun. On this vast continent, most cultivators had moderate cultivation strength. But walking on the street, Fang Qi sensed several extremely powerful presences from the crowds that he passed. 2 rows of heavy cavalry wearing heavy silver armor passed them, emitting gloomy murderous spirit. Is this the much bigger land that Jessica mentioned? Fang Qi remembered that the top-level currency in this continent was the golden rock containing tremendous energy. He had seen it when he bet with Jessica. This rock was called a golden dragon eye, which was never seen in spiritual state. Of course, the ordinary people traded with currencies similar to spiritual stones. This was a land fraught with endless natural treasures. The vastness of the land was unimaginable, and there was more than one plane hidden in the depth of the land. In a projected screen before him, Fang Qi saw a battle between a human and a huge dragon. The huge dragon spat out streaks of flames, ice, and thunderbolts which could travel 1,000 meters without losing power. The man wearing fiery red spiritual robe chanted in a low voice, and the aura of the godly spell engulfed the whole space. Watching the scenes of the grand battle, people's exclamations erupted like a tsunami. The booming noises of the battle, the roars of the huge dragon, and the people's boisterous shouts combined and assaulted Fang Qi ears. Ancient dragon! It's an ancient dragon. Like a yellow butterfly that was fluttering its wings, a withered leaf slowly landed on Fang Qi's shoulder. It was autumn. Autumn was a season that everything withered, and it was also the season where living beings died or went into rest and hibernation. This land didn't only have 2 suns but 2 moons as well. In a clear night, people could see 2 radiant moons, one red and one blue, up in the high sky. They looked wondrous and beautiful. High mountains rolled on the land, and many peaks reached as high as 10,000 meters. Dotted like stars in the cosmos, cities of various sizes were built on these peaks. In the distance, there was a huge mountain peak which shot up into the sky like a sharp sword. On the top of the high cliff, white ice and snow covered the land, and there was a huge white tower with a sharp tip in the center of this place. 6 golden light patterns with different shapes rotated around the tip of the tower, making the building look like a bright lighthouse. Her black hair was as thick and curly as surging ocean waves, draping over the throne that was covered by a snow-white fur and decorated by fiery red gems. This woman was wearing a pale golden silky dress which revealed a small portion of snow-white skin, and her goddess-like cold face looked as flawless as white jade. The slightly slanting ends of her eyebrows made her look even colder and haughtier. How is the expedition of the Judgment Godly Palace? The news of victory hadn't come yet, a dignified-looking, middle-aged man who was wearing silver armor replied. The Flame Inquisitor, whose nickname is Permanent Flame, the first place of the Godly Palace, has tamed the ancient dragon Alpha. He has shown it to the world with the spiritual spell visual projection, the middle-aged man said. Who do you think is stronger, me or the Flame Inquisitor of the Judgment Godly Palace? Of course, you're stronger, Princess Your Highness, the middle-aged man said with a bow. Princess Your Highness, did you challenge those ancient existences again? Arrogance appeared in her eyes as she said, it's a pity that I've never had a taste of failure. Then, her lips curled up and showed a disdainful sneer. Is there really no one who can defeat me? In any place of the world, autumn was always a bleak season signaling old age and decay. However, in this vast and beautiful land, flowers were still blooming everywhere. Different from other places, this huge space was full of vital energy. Strange golden lights blinked in the sky like nimble tadpoles, moving and flashing around. Their movements looked random, but they secretly followed the pattern of star movements without stopping day and night. Swine. An old man wearing a grey robe entered this ethereal space with a walking cane in his hand. In the sky, quick wind supported a man who had silver long hair and a cold, chiseled face like invisible wings. What's going on? His eyes filled with vicissitude, and the passage of time seemed to have come back from the endless void, shooting out godly lights that looked like lightning flashes. The grey-robed old man chuckled. So many years have passed, and you are the same way. You are still as rude as ever to your guests. I just came back from the state of epiphany after sensing something. The silver-haired man named Swine said mildly, My friend, how are you doing? The old man said meaningfully, It's a great honor to be called my friend by the Guardian of Wind. I'm afraid that few people in this whole continent have this honor. I heard that you traveled to the distant east and had just returned. The old man laughed and said, Those people kept fighting for the title of number 1, and I gave them a good lesson. Ha ha ha. In the whole continent, I'm afraid that only you can defeat that holiness. I can't say that. After all, there's always someone more powerful out there, right? The old man said, I don't want to show off in front of the Guardian of Wind. If you came out of this space one day, I'm sure that you will be an existence that everyone in the continent looks up to. I'm not so sure, the silver-haired man said, I seem to sense a very gloomy presence that is moving restlessly in a distant space. As if it is hiding in a swamp of death, its presence is well concealed. However, I can still sense the evil in it. Perhaps, it has come to the continent.